All right, folks. This is Sportsworld. We're on King's Football Show as well. We're going to have a little Arsenal this season that is so far. We got some Arsenal experts coming into the house. We're going to have a little discussion. Our Premier League so far, our Champions League so far, Arteta, the Edu situation, all that. January windows is coming. How we're doing, what we expected, how good we're going here. And yeah, let's stay tuned. Let us know your questions, your thoughts on the season. We're going to talk about a few of the stats, how we're going in all four comps. I got my buddy King from King's Football Show. Make sure you subscribe there, hit the likes. We got the infamous Brahmi Gooner, the Tariq Talks. How you doing, Tariq and King?
I'm all good. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've spoke to you brothers, been on a stream, been on either of these channels. So big up to yourselves, man. Thank you for inviting me on, and I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to talking about it because there's a lot we need to discuss. But thank you first and foremost.
I had it on my other computer.
Yeah,
I can hear Tariq talking over there too. I got Rangers Tottenham watch going on. I got Ajax Lazio. If you guys see some scores that we need to update, let us know. In the meantime, we're going to start talking about our Arsenal season thus far. It's cold, December 12th. Not sure how much rain's going on over at King's in Sweden, Tariq's in England. It's been pretty rainy, seems like England, but man, it's been cold over here. Chelsea won earlier in cold Astana, 3-1. No cold Palmer. He didn't want to go into the cold, I guess. United got lucky, beat Victoria Pilsen today. Onana had a freaking mare, holy, and they still came back and won. Hoyland looked pretty good, actually. Watched some of that game. The Ajax, hopefully they beat Lazio, those damn fascists. But let's get started with our Gooner talk. Part of this show. We got a lot of Gooners starting to arrive. Luke, Josh, True Gooner, big ups. I always watch his channel. It's a good one for a young Gooner like Tariq. He's even younger. He's playing in what is it? The not National League. I don't know what that is. Freaking not South End, but he's in a lower league team.
Oh, decent.
Forget what they're called. Let us know, Josh. I forget what your team's called again. Your West Brom not doing too bad, Tariq, as well.
No, they're not. They're not doing great.
They're close. They're in the top 8, aren't they, to get one of those spots?
Drawn a lot of games.
Yeah,
been like
many
Juventus,
draws. Yeah.
the Juventus of the championship.
That championship's tough, though, man. You get on a hot streak, you can be right up there, and you lose a couple, you fall right out.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'll get started here. King wanted to have this show go on as a lot of people get negative for no reason. I mean, we tied Fulham. You know, this happens in London derbies. Last year we lost there. They got a lot of our players. They know our game. Smart manager. They played well. They sat back. We just didn't get the goals. I mean, that's happened. Sometimes we get the goals like on Forest, other teams, and we own them. We take, you know, if they have to open up, we crush them. But if we don't have to make a team open up, it can be tough when you're all trying to go. Our left side hasn't been going so good so far. Keeps having to make changes. Calafiori, Zinni. MLS, I thought, did really well, but we keep trying different left backs out. Timber's been over there. And like I said, Tariq, for 2 years since we signed Jurgen, he's going to be our right back, man. He is an amazing player. I say he's the best right back in the world, him and Alistair Johnston on Celtic. Canadian. Bikini, yeah, you're okay, but I think Jurgen Timber – right back, left back, right center back can play defensive. When he's playing right back, he's tucking in, playing midfield pretty much a lot of times. But he's really helped Saka really get going. I mean, when Timber's been in there, they're cooking on the right side. Don't you guys agree?
Go on, King.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think our right side have always been good, whether it's Ben White or Jurgen Timber's playing. I think they offer different quality but what they all have is that they all have very high footballing IQ. You know, Ben White is very smart. He knows when to release the ball to Odegaard or to Saka, and he
When to
kind of
go,
lets him
when
do
not
their
to
thing.
go. Yeah, when to
Yeah,
tuck in.
and we know in defense he's very good. He's very physical, good in the air,
Both of them, I'd
reads the
say,
game.
King and Tariq, eh? One-on-one. Like, they don't get beat one-on-one, Ben White and Timber.
Mm.
Calafiori's
No,
kind of
they
like that too. You can't beat him one-on-one. And if you do, he gets back so quick and physical. I think that's a bit of his problem. He's playing such a physical game that he plays in Italy, and he's bringing it to the Prem. And man, you're gonna get injuries. He sacrifices his body a lot. I like that, but you're gonna get hurt too.
Yeah, I agree. And with Timber, I've been very much impressed with how mature he looks. Bearing in mind he's 23.
But since
This is his
16, he's
first.
been on Holland's books, Ajax
Yeah,
books, starting
that's
since 16.
that's where the maturity has come from, because he's a very experienced pro. So like I remember speaking, because there's been Arsenal fans that have been like very caught, like let's say, concerned with Calafiori defensively, and in some aspects he looks a little bit more raw than Urian Timber. But as you mentioned there, Moss, you got to remember Urian Timber's been playing first team football, Champions League level football ever since he was a 16, 17-year-old, and he's been a big part
Holland since
in that. Whereas Calafiori, when he came from Roma, and he had a big injury, so he missed out on a lot of his development there at this very young age. And when missing out on those key years, you miss out a lot physically, mentally, psychologically, and everything. And he's coming from a different level, whereas Timber has played in the Champions League and come from that European standard. Bologna had a great season there, and that was his first real breakout season in Serie A. But before that, he was in the Swiss League, and we know that the level in the Premier League to the Swiss League is a massive jump. And then so that with Timber, very much impressed. And and when I talk, because what you always tend to see in groups and on social media, and when we just connect with Arsenal fans, everyone's quick to try and say, right, what's our best 11? I don't think Arteta's built this squad to have a best 11 per se. I think he's making
like we've
it
always
the
called
best
for. We
occasion.
wanted more rotation, a whole squad. And
Yeah,
that's kind of what we're
exactly.
doing now.
It's all based on who the opponent that we're facing, who's fitter, having the options as well when players get injured to try and maintain that level. With Ben White and Timber, because we're on them, like what really impresses me the most is how versatile that they are. Like, look at Ben White said this in an interview, that the positions that Arteta asks you to take in a fullback role is to be a centre back, a fullback, a midfielder, number 8, a number 6, a winger, and look how confident and complete they all look. I do think Timber is better 1v1 defensively than Ben White. I think Ben White has come a long way since when he started as when he came in as a right back out in those wide areas. But I just think that Timber's a natural better 1v1. Maybe
he's quicker in the short little spaces for one-on-one.
Yeah. He's tight. He's got in those short spaces. That's definitely going forward. But I think maybe he's got a lower center of gravity because he's a bit shorter as well.
Legs,
he's a bit more agile. That
injury, he came back a physical beast. Like his legs are way more ripped than they used to be.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see that. So he's built for the Premier League physically, but he's also got the agility, the quickness that in the turn and the hips and how he shifts them is much more comfortable, I think, than in a 1v1. Whereas Ben White, you have seen him get and have tough games against like a Rashford or a Matoma. You haven't seen that with Urian Timber, but what Ben White offers you is a ridiculous engine in terms of what he can do going forward, pushing on, giving and in giving us an overlap. How comfortable he is. His passing's really good too. He might even be a slightly better passer, but we're talking about marginal gains here with Ben White and Timber, and that's how brilliant we are. And when we look at the composition of this squad, we have areas that we need to work on and that we don't quite have in depth. We'll get to that because that's where a lot of Arsenal fans want to talk about. But when you look at that back line and that midfield, we have got a lot in that base, and at the moment we have been unfortunate with injuries in that area of the pitch though, and I think that's what's impacted our performances in some games.
Yeah, and I agree to you. And if you look at the amount of injuries Arsenal have had, we are fourth on the list of all the teams in the Premier League. But when you go to Twitter, when you listen to a lot of people who talk about Premier League, who talk about Arsenal, they will tell you like, Arsenal only had one player out. Arsenal haven't had injuries, but that's not the truth. And the reason why people kind of look at Arteta and criticize him, I think sometimes it's unfair because we know that when the players are fit, we are one of the best teams in the world, obviously. But
Yeah.
when you have multiple players who are injured and they all play in similar positions, like we have a lot of fullbacks who's injured, Tomiyasu, Sinchenko,
It's like that left back
Ben
spot is
White.
jinxed. You go play left back, you get injured on our team.
Ben White.
Yeah, exactly. And, Ben White and even Gabriel's got a hamstring injury right now. Obviously, if you keep on have to shift the partnerships at centre back, the partnership at full back, it's going to have a knock-on effect on the balance of the defense. Because when we have players available, then they can build this connection. And we know that Saliba and Gabriel have an excellent connection. We know
And
that.
build on that, King. When we've been
Yeah,
changing left backs nonstop, Marino
yeah.
in and out, Rice in and out, left eights changing. I think that's affected Martinelli's game, and everyone's starting to dump on him. He's become the fall guy. Talk about that.
Yep.
Yeah, and me and Tariq had a talk about Martinelli a few days ago, and really we saw the best of Martinelli when we had a very stable and settled left side. So we had Sinchenko, whose technique is kind of world class, his passing is of the highest quality, and then you had Granit Xhaka, who became a world class midfielder who got short range passing, long range passing. He can pin a ball on the nail. And then Martinelli can use his pace to run through and do what he do best. Yeah, unfortunately for Martinelli, he's not had a stable left eight, and he's definitely not had a stable left back because we've had Tomiyasu there, we've had Sinchenko there, we've had Miles Lewis Kelly there, we've had Calafiori there, and we've had Urian Timber there. That's already five
Kivior,
different left back and Kivio. So we
Kivior,
have
MLS.
six different left back. That's not normal. So
Mhm.
when you look at the right side, for 90% is Ben White or Urian Timber.
Parties had to
So
because we've needed
that's
Timber at
different.
left
When you
back.
look at the right-sided midfield, 90% is Odegaard and Saka. And before the injury, it was probably 99%. So therefore, when you look at the balance on the left side, if you keep chopping and changing it, the dynamic there is not going to be as good as on the right side. And I think it's had a negative knock-on effect on everybody on the left side. And that's why we are so reliant on the right side. And then again, like before, we had Gabriel Jesus, who used to link up very well with Martinelli. But after his injury, and then we went on and bought Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz is a good link-up player, but he links up as much with Saka as he does with Martinelli. And then when you don't have that left-footed number 8, and you put Declan Rice there, the angles and the passing dynamic that he can give to Martinelli
It's
is
hurt
not at the
Martinelli.
same level as someone like a Granit Xhaka used to do.
Mhm.
And that's why we see him playing so wide. And we know that when Martinelli goes on wide, he doesn't have that technical ability of a Bukayo Saka. So he's not going to be able to always take on his fullback and make it successful. And that's when he will get his head down and keep on running and go back and running and go back. And he gets frustrated. You can see it in his games. And that's why he's picking up a lot of yellow cards, that
Yeah.
freedom that he used to have.
I've been impressed
Doesn't
with
have it anymore.
his work ethic, though.
And
Martinelli.
that it will always give you like one thing with Martinelli, you can never knock on his effort and
No.
his working rate. He's always top class. It's just
Exactly.
unfortunate in this system that we play now, we won't see the best of him. And
Well,
especially
anyone that's played football, that's what you're talking about. Tariq talks about this a lot too. Is you get used to your little patterns, and the triangles and the diamonds of guys you play with.
Yeah.
And it's working so great on the right side, like amazing. And then, like you've been saying, Martinelli's had different guys nonstop. I haven't had a chance to talk to Tariq ever about Calafiori, the signing, how good he's been. Jesus kind of fallen off. But yeah, if I think we can start getting Marino and Calafiori healthy and playing all the time, and Martinelli, I think Martinelli will grow again and get a lot more chances, find getting in behind the defense again. You know, Trossard's done well, and I just think he's a super sub. I know King loves him, Trossard, but I just think he's so good at watching the game. Trossard's a good football IQ. He watches the game, and then when he comes on and defenders are a little tired, he knows exactly what little spaces to get into. I've been impressed with Trossard as a sub big time. And you see him start, and it's just not the same. But yeah, Go ahead. What do you think about Calafiori, the signing, Tariq? And I don't know when he's going to be totally healthy, but man, I just think he's been the best at left back. Timber's done well there too, but I want to have Timber at right back. I'm sorry.
Exactly. And that it links when we talk about Calafiori, it links with Martinelli, because the best we've seen of Martinelli this season has been with either Calafiori or Marino on the left centre of midfield. When both have played there, you see an even better Martinelli, and that's right. I really do like on Calafiori. Before I get to Martinelli, I love Calafiori. I love what he gives to the team. His bravery, his personality, with how he plays is what's most impressive about him. Yeah, because there's a bit of raw aspects in his defending. Not necessarily when he's defending 1v1, but it's more his positioning, his body positioning at times when he can get a ball done with over the top. Well, he'll learn, and he'll learn with that because he's still a natural defender. You can see that. Whereas, the likes of Zinchenko, what he gives you in terms of on the ball, he's never going to be a natural defender. That's not his instincts. Whereas with Calafiori, that is his instincts to be a very aggressive.
Rosie, this is next match.
Exactly. Sorry, he can carry the ball forward. He's so adaptable, and he looks so comfortable in all roles. And you really see him on the pitch, and you sense him. Like, you can't miss the guy Calafiori because of how he plays. And I love what he offers there. To what Matt's saying in the comments with how he plays with Martinelli, you will see Calafiori offer an overlap at times, or if he's got Marino there, Marino will go out wide. If you saw yesterday, some of the two first misplaced passes that Marino played was when he was out wide. The Bukayo Saka goal, look who was out wide in that position. It was Mikel Marino.
And MLS made that play. MLS did great to create that goal.
Exactly. And MLS will give you that as well, similar to a Calafiori can make that type of pass. But what Martinelli needed is that little bit of freedom, that ingenuity to have someone who can go out wide and be a bit more comfortable. Although I love Timber and Rice, when they play out on that left alongside Martinelli, it's way too predictable, guys. You got three right footers who are much more comfortable going inside, whereas Martinelli has to occupy the width. And because Martinelli isn't as good in a 1v1 situation as Saka, literally Saka is one of the best right wingers in the world. I think that's what we tend to do as Arsenal fans is, Martinelli's nowhere near Saka's level, so, and if he's not performing there, he's not good enough. No, it's just because Saka is world class, and he's
when you got Odegaard and he's creeping out to the right side, we tend to go right side so much, and you see it, and then Martinelli's just hanging out there and waiting. I think it'll be better, like you're saying, with Calafiori left-footed, Marino left-footed. I think it'll help Martinelli a lot.
But Arteta purposely does put Martinelli in more isolated scenarios because that's where he can exploit it with his speed. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And that's what he's looking tactically. And with Martinelli, he has needed that. Because look at how isolated he has been. Yeah. And he's not a magician. He's not a world-class player. He does lack areas in some part of his game. Like, I can criticize that. But when I also look at the team and how we always go down the right and we have our connections down there. And
Luke is always criticizing Martinelli, Tariq, about his football IQ. His football IQ. He's not smart,
he's not as smart as Saka. I think we can all agree with that. He's not as smart as an Odegaard.
The other day, it's like he kept beating this guy with speed. And then I'm like, Martinelli, just keep taking him till he stops it. And he kept stopping and trying to cut it back onto his right foot. I'm like, just keep beating him, man. Like, he can't stop you.
Yeah, that does happen with Martinelli, and you just got to accept that some players aren't. He's not going to be world class, and he probably won't be, but he can be a top player, and I do really rate him. And I look at his best games. Should we bring them up, guys? Shakhtar Donetsk, where he
I
got
think
man
we
of
had
the match in the
Calafiori, didn't
Champions
we?
League, had Calafiori there.
Yeah.
The goal that I think he's probably first best performance of the season was against Man City, where he contributed for that goal for Calafiori, and he was a threat. Calafiori was there. If you also look at Leicester, the Leicester game where he got a goal, a goal and an assist, I believe.
Yeah.
Calafiori was there, and then against Southampton when he came off the bench.
And you're right, like in training at the start of the year, Arteta said Calafiori and Martinelli were working great together. But like you said, we haven't had to see it enough, and it hasn't been available enough.
And you've got Marino there as well. I think that as you mentioned, Moss, about relationships, I think Trossard works better with Rice when Rice is out on that left side.
Yeah, I agree.
And one thing I remember from way back in the day, and I'm not sure if any of you guys remember this, but Mikel Arteta said in an interview, a post-match interview, he said Tierney doesn't work well with Martinelli because they both want to occupy the same positions. Tierney works better with Emile Smith-Rowe because Emile Smith-Rowe wants to come inside. He wants to be in more of that half space, and that's the position he wants to take on the half turn between the lines. Martinelli prefers to go out wide first, receive the ball out wide, make a pass, have a dribble, whatever, go from out to in rather than in to out. And then Marino is comfortable from going from inside to out, and Calafiori can play in all three of those areas. That's where you see the best of our left side. Honestly, if you do have the time, guys, and if you do just 45 minutes of that Leicester game, and you will see how much impactful. I think Martinelli missed a big chance before he even scored. Even last night, I thought Martinelli was much more threatening. The frustration with Arsenal fans, I think we tend to remember the things that annoy us more than the ones that give us more joy in football. So we won't forget the miss against Spurs, the miss against Atalanta, how his performance against Man United was poor, but he was actually quite a threat against Fulham. And he shouldn't be offside in that scenario, but he could have been by an inch. He could have been a hero in that moment. Yeah. I just think we need to not. I understand we are so desperate for glory, guys. We all want it. King wants it. Moss wants it. I want it. I know you want it, Luke. I know Matt, Rosie, the Gooner, True Gooner, Miss Melina. I know we all want Arsenal to win and to get that major trophy at the and if we don't feel like
that's what our poll vote is, what trophy are we going to win this year?
Trust
me, on the poll.
We just need those relationships, especially with the players who aren't world class. If Luke's comments here, and I don't actually disagree with what he says, Saka has still delivered, either playing with a Timber, White, whoever's on that side, because Saka is a world-class player that can perform in any scenario. Martinelli isn't. His game is a little bit more limited. Well, a little bit more limited than Saka's. But with that, you still need to platform your best players. Look at Manchester City winning the 4 league titles, and they had not a great left winger for about 3 of them times.
Yeah.
They had Grealish, Doku, Grealish when they won the treble, who hasn't scored a goal in 44 games. Doku last season. Phil Foden doesn't even when he gets platformed differently, and Phil Foden was talked about the England star boy, the one who we should build the team around. He's a very good player, Phil Foden, but he's also not at the level of a Rodri, who any scenario he can be playing, he can perform well.
And Southgate, let Foden take all the corners. You got Saka and Rice, and we're set piece FC, but you let Foden take all the corners, Southgate. You're an idiot.
The real mark of a world-class player, guys, we know it, is any scenario, any you can
national team, any comp, you always bring your A game. It don't matter. Formations, nothing.
Exactly. So for me, once we start to see that left side get fit, get strong, Marino's struggled with injuries, Calafiori struggled with injuries. But my only questions with Calafiori, and it has been in King, we had a discussion about this in the summer when we signed him. My only concerns is physically with Calafiori. Is he physically robust enough to sustain this, week in, week out, Premier League, Hot Champions League, FA Cup, English, the English style, the intensity to do that week in, week out? I don't know yet. He looks it. He's 6'2". He's strong. He's got that build, but we know with his previous injuries and what we've seen in the early stages, it might.
He's a little like Wilshere, I was always worried about Wilshere because he's never saw a tackle he didn't want or a dribble to take on a guy. A touch goes a little too far. You still stick your foot in, and that's how you get injured. And that's how Calafiori's been getting injured. A bad touch, a 50-50 ball. He don't care. He's going for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because KT had the same issues where
KT has that too. Yeah,
he couldn't read when to protect his body, and Calafiori seems to have that in him as well, where he just want to give everything and not read the situation. And in the Premier League, you have to be smart, and that's why someone like Bukayo keeps on playing week in, week out.
He gets hacked and fouled nonstop, Saka, and it just keeps ticking.
But he knows how to protect his body. So even if you tackle him, he makes sure that you tackle him in the right place, in the right angle, so he doesn't get long injuries. And for me, like when you look at this season, when you look at the teams that we've played, and you look at the away games that we've played, and you look at the amount of red cards that we've had.
Yeah, well, that was our first topic, was Premier League review. Sorry, King, go ahead, though. But, Gunner, we're in third place, 29 points, plus 14. Chelsea's had it a bit easy with their schedule. Liverpool's been pretty easy. We've had some crazy tough away games, 3 red cards. So it's hard to be in the top spot when you've been nailed like that. Go ahead, King, sorry.
Yeah. So you look, we played Brighton. Got a red card. Yeah, we played Man City at the Etihad. Got a red card. I think only 2 games that I look at where we've been poor was Bournemouth and Newcastle. I think in them 2 games, we didn't deserve to get anything from them.
Newcastle was lame, yeah.
And every team have this every season. You will have a few games where you don't turn up. It's like the human thing in the play on the players. But I think other than that, I think that Brighton game, even with the red card, we were a bit unlucky. Kai could have scored, Saka could have scored, and we could have won that game. The City game, last minute short corner, they score.
City what we know from City now, King, they wouldn't have created or scored anything whilst we had that 2-1 lead if we had 11 men.
Yeah,
we know that.
And if we would have faced City now, I think it's safe to say we beat them quite comfortable.
Their last 10, 1 win, 2 draws, 7 losses, Man City.
So
and even King, I know you'll get to the Liverpool game, but I have to say it because it itches me. I think the result was fair in the end, but a fair result with Ben White, who was injured at the time, playing at centre back. Partey playing at right back for the first time this season. Well, second time because it was Southampton was the first against. And then Kivior and Miles Lewis Skelly ending on that pitch because we had injuries to Gabriel. In that, I
just saw it.
Yeah, and again, even if you look at the last goal that we could have scored, it was a very harsh decision. I think any other team who has that situation, it will at least go to VAR. I didn't understand why the ref was so quick to.
There was another time
the funny thing is he wasn't even quick to blow the whistle, so he let it go first, and then when it kind of looked like, this could be a goal,
he just ended. Yeah. The same. I thought there was never once an offside line or anything when Timber got a goal in one of those games, and they called it offside, and I'm like, it wasn't even offside earlier, and they never did show the lines or anything. I'm like, that was Timber's would have been his first goal. Like, come on.
Yeah. And Matt asked something before about Kivior, and I think Kivior.
Yeah, I brought that up. I wanted you and Tariq to answer that.
I think that
Well,
that's goal.
we know King and Tariq how much Serie A clubs want this guy, this Polish center back. They've seen him play center back in Serie A and get to big clubs and do well. He does good for Poland most times. He's fast. He's tall. He's got a good touch. And when we've played him now, the last couple of times, he had his first game was a bit weak, but after that, when he's had to start, he's done a good job. Don't you guys think?
Yeah, and also you have to look at the context here. You sit on the bench almost the whole season.
All the time, yeah.
You are a left-sided centre back, but you mostly played left back for Arsenal.
And
And
then
now you
comes
get
in at
in.
the end at right center back a lot of times.
Yeah. So the context is that you are now playing left-sided centre back, but not with our first or second choice left back. So if you look at the goal that we conceded against Fulham, it is almost identical to the goal that Man City scored against us with
Yeah,
Haaland.
yeah.
It was the same kind of angle where it was in between Gabriel and Saliba. This was in between Kibio and Saliba. But the criticism that Kibio got was way more than the criticism Gabriel and Saliba got. And it was the same kind of goal that we conceded. And then when you look at the data for the goal, the XG, it was like 0.02 chance for Jimenez to score from that angle. So really, we've been a bit unlucky as well with sometimes some of the finishes that the teams have scored against us have been incredible. Even if you look at the Neto goal against Chelsea, like it's a low XG chance, it's outside from the box. He just hit it fantastic. And this is a player who doesn't even score a lot of goals. So we've not really had luck on our side. I'm not blaming everything on luck, but we haven't really had luck on our side. But I think people are way overreacting. I don't think people are looking at the fact that we are still third in the league. We are still doing very well in Champions League. We have a very good opportunity to finish in the top 8 and not get to the qualifying round. If you look at the Carabao Cup, we're already in the quarterfinal and we're playing against Crystal Palace. And you would said you would fancy Arsenal in that game. The FA Cup has not even started yet, and we're going to play Man United, and we see how inconsistent Man United are, and we see we beat them last time 2-0. So the season is
Scoring.
far from over.
Sorry, scoring
With-
update 3-0 Sociedad and 1-0 for Porto, assist by the great Canadian Eustáquio. Assist.
Fair play, fair play, fair play.
FC
And
Porto.
yeah,
Sorry.
so when you look at the league, would I have wanted more wins? For sure. Would I have wanted more open play goals? For sure. But I think you can't criticize Arsenal being good at set pieces. That's a weapon, and it's a legal
Yeah.
weapon.
Like
What
Arteta
we
said,
can
I want
look
to be
at,
the kings of set pieces, kings of movement, kings of getting in behind the line, kings of everything. Open. That's what we're
yeah,
going for.
and
We're trying to score as many ways as possible. Give yourself the most percentage chance of getting goals as you possibly can.
you have to understand, we have a
We
very
have 6 more goals than any club in Europe, Tariq, since the start of last year on set
I know.
pieces. Any club, anywhere, we've scored more.
yeah. What I was gonna say is that also we have a system manager with a team that is very system based, where players have specific roles that they have to execute.
We
So
know who would
when
fit that
you keep
system,
on
Tariq.
having
Jonathan
to
David.
chop and change these players, is gonna have an effect on the open play creation. The problem we have now is that we've had certain games where players haven't been clinical. And that's not on the manager. Like the players have to do better. Like someone like a Jesus,
We'll
he
get into the
has to be more
Champions League
clinical.
too here, but that's what I noticed, King, is when clubs don't know us enough, like
Yeah.
when we play in Europe, you guys, our press works like real well. But the Premier League clubs, they get used to our press. They get onto it and realize, hey, we can't be playing around with it at the back, except maybe Brighton will still do it. But most clubs just know, hey, their press is good. We can't diddly-daddly around. And when we play Europe teams, man, our press works. When we got Odegaard or Kai or Jay-Z, got those guys going, our press is fantastic.
Yeah, it is true. Because teams in Europe, they are much more akin to
not
playing
used to
out
it,
the back. Yeah. And our press, we are one of the best pressing teams in terms of turnovers, shot creating actions after a turnover.
I thought it was great, Odegaard, the last game.
We are great at that. Right. We don't press like, I'm sure, well, everyone who watches Arsenal here, we know how we press. We don't press like Liverpool prime under Klopp, where they just literally suffocate you. We set traps. We'll make you go down one side.
We try to force you,
we'll force you down there, and then we'll nick it off of you because we've got Rice or Saliba, Gabriel,
Timber stepping up, Odegaard getting in the space, Party ready to intercept.
Exactly. Anyone to win it there, and then usually we put them towards our right side so that when Odegaard or Saka picks up the ball, they're much more dangerous and then they can get it out to the left where there's going to be well open space because everyone's trying to recover over there, and then we can score in many different ways off of a turnover. That's what we are. We just haven't been clinical off of those turnovers, as King said. But I think that again, that's something that we've known for a long time with Arsenal, and that's why you've just got to look at when we can be, because you've seen it towards the end of last season. I mean, the second half of last season, how clinical were we? Apart from the Villa game, where that's the only, if we win that game, we win the league, literally. Or Man City decide to get punished like how they have done so far. It's just fine margins, guys, in this game of football. And just my thing on Kivior, because I wanted to say, because you guys do raise good points, and I've been very harsh on Kivior, mainly because I don't think he's good enough to be a week in, week out player. But if you have a look at him and for what his role is, and his role in the team, that's perfect for me. If you're like a fifth choice centre back, where if Tomiyasu's fit, and I know that's a big if given his injury, but if let's say Ben White, if Ben White's fit, he's further down the pecking order, and I'm sure Ben White will play alongside a Saliba or a Gabriel because we've seen it happen before. And then Kivior's just an option, probably a fifth choice.
Timber, remember in preseason played Saliba's spot a lot and did well.
Exactly, and if we had a left back fit, then maybe Timber slots in there. Exactly, so good point. So I'm okay with that. The only thing that I have with Kivior, and when I talk about Calafiori's personality, that's what I love. That's, I think, is Kivior's biggest weakness, because you mentioned those goals, the Fulham one and the Liverpool one. What did Kivior do in those scenarios? He hesitated. With Kivior, I think that's what you can kind of see with his personality. He's not as in your face as a Calafiori or Gabriel, or he's not as calm.
If you're not noticing him, he's having a good game. If you're not noticing,
exactly. You can. It feels like you can rough him up a bit. He did very well against Højlund. Very, very well against Højlund, and that's what he did. But should I tell you how you can also understand the player's personality without even seeing them? Just look at how other people react towards them, guys. Look at after the Man United game, how Calafiori and Gabriel were like trying to G him up. We've all been around them. So let's say
personality.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're a good family now. We're a good unit.
So look, we're a family. Yeah, we've all seen each other in person. We know, like, if we've got someone with us here who's a bit quiet, we're watching Arsenal and we've just won or something, and you can see they're happy. What are we doing? And they've done something well. Sometimes you over-egg the pudding a little bit, just to just to try and get.
Hey, you're one of us. We're on the same level here. We're all pushing the same way.
Yeah,
that's what I think it is with Kivior. It's not a quality, because you see, again, when we talk about quality, look at the pass he played to Jesus yesterday. For goodness sakes.
Yeah, he's good in the air too, Jakob. He's good in the air.
Comfortable on the ball than Gabriel, naturally. But the thing with Gabriel is he's so like, I'm so determined to do well. I'll improve that, and he's come up leaps and bounds, but it's not natural, and not as natural it is to Kivior. Remember Kivior against Brighton when we lost 3-0 2 seasons ago, and he looked a bit weak, and he lost his boot, and he went down. But you see that if we get the Kivior that we got against Højlund, he was physical. Oh, I want this, Højlund, move. I'm feeling it today. Then we've got a serious player, guys. Then we've got our Nathan Ake, or maybe he's more on the likes of Laporte, actually, because in terms of his playing style. But
and if Serie A clubs want to step up to Jakub now, Tariq, we're going to make money. Before we weren't going to make money because we weren't playing them. Now we will.
You know his quality. It's just his part. He just needs to. It's like he needs to believe himself a little bit more, guys. You know, one of them ones. They got the shy guy who's, he's good looking. You're trying to find him a wife or a girlfriend. You're trying to find him a girl, but he's a bit quiet, and you have to kind of, she's looking at, she's feeling you. You know,
you have to gas it. You have to gas it.
Gas it. All she's done is looked and smiled, but we're telling him you have to go over and make the move. She's begging you to go and talk to her.
But I do think, to Kibio's defense, I do also think that playing time is also a factor to why he hasn't really expressed himself and his qualities, because he's never really had a long run playing left-sided centre-back, which is his best position. He had a spell playing left-back last season. We had a lot of injuries, but because Gabriel has been so fit and play,
he hasn't been bad when he's had to play right center back either. He hasn't been bad.
No, but he's not really had like a long run where here is like 10 starting games with Saliba, and having Calafiori on the left side. He hasn't really had that. So I think it's also hard when you kind of have like a shy personality and you are on the bench for so long, and then all of a sudden you're on the highlight and there's so much pressure and the team has to win, and it's the title, it's the Champions League, and then go back to sitting on the bench and then come back on. Not everybody has that in them to just give it a go. And I think that's where, I always kind of praise someone like Trossard, because he can sit on the bench for a long time, and then the manager's like, I need you, Tross, and he will come on and he will just score a goal and he will just be super cool. So, as you said, for his role, the problem we have now with Arsenal is that we have so many defenders that are prone to injuries. So, Zinchenko,
or if they're all healthy, then a couple aren't getting games, at all.
Yeah, but like if you look at Zinchenko, Moss, he will miss 15 to 20 Premier League games each season. Tomiyasu will miss 20 to 25 Premier League games per season. My God. And this is the reason why we've had to overplay Ben White, whereas even last season he had injuries, but he had to play through them injuries, and that's had
I think we would have won it all if Timber wasn't devastated injury last year. Man.
Yeah, for sure. And this summer is gonna be a big window for Arsenal, because
we're adding, like, how do we upgrade a little bit? Now it's not, we got holes here and there, we need a squad. It's like, how do we upgrade a little bit?
Yeah, because availability is the number one ability first. The reason why we were so good in that 2022 season, when we got almost, was it 49 points or 51 points in the first 19 games?
Yeah.
Because almost every player was available.
All the time.
Thomas Partey could play.
We have a better squad now, but lots of injuries.
Granit Xhaka could play. Saka, Martinelli, Jesus before the World Cup. We was Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko. Everybody was available. It was almost the same 11 week in, week out. But we haven't really had that since. Even if you look at last season, we had long spells where players were out.
Guys, you speak about Timber. Thomas Partey barely played last year.
Last year he barely played.
Been very helpful this year.
Played. Yeah. Fabio Vieira, he barely played. Tomiyasu barely played. Zinchenko was in and out.
Fabio scored for Porto last week, Tariq.
Yeah. Ben White injured. Erdegaard missed injuries as well.
Yeah. So I think come this summer, all these kind of injury-prone players like a Tomiyasu, like a Zinchenko, Tierney,
Jesus,
we gotta get rid of them. Jesus, we gotta get rid of them. And then if we get rid of them,
Jesus, I did, but I called this. I go, that knee injury was bad, and he didn't. he just keeps having other things. He's never full fitness because of it. I'm like, yeah, he's only what, 27, 28, but he's like a 35-year-old because of the injury, and he's been a top professional player since he was 16. So there's a lot of tread on Jesus' tires. But I wanted to put a little pin on our Premier League review just by asking this and then moving on to Champions League here. But, you know, we're third place. We're close. Liverpool's well ahead. I think they had a nice schedule so far. Luke mentioned it today or yesterday, I can't remember. Hopefully they put the Liverpool Everton right at the end of the season like they did for our Arsenal Tottenham last year, but it probably won't happen. But what are your thoughts on our chances? What do we need to have happen? I know, we need Liverpool get a few draws here and there, and we need to go on a run. I'm not too worried about City now. It's almost Chelsea I'm more worried about. But, what are your guys' thoughts on our chances and just going forward through the Christmas season into January's window for Premier League?
I'll go first on this because I've got very strong feelings, and I've said this since September because when it looked like, injuries, red cards.
Our first half schedule we had,
If we are 4 points, within 4 points of Liverpool, I imagine they will be top of the league by then, or Chelsea, but just 4 points within top by the end of January, the start of February, Arsenal will win this league. That's the goal. We don't need to be top tomorrow. We don't need to be top next month. We just need to be top by May. And the best way we know that, guys, is firsthand, isn't it, guys? With Manchester City.
We've lost it twice at
exactly. And Man City were barely top last year. And I think they were less at the top last year than they were even when they won this year before, where we was top for most of that season. But Man City, it's all about finishing strong. And you saw Arsenal learn from that. It's just about, as Matt said, keeping our players fit and making sure that they are fit for that run-in. Because if they are, believe me, with the fixtures that we have towards the end of the season, we had the hardest fixture run last year and we did very well, bearing in mind. Not quite enough. We have most definitely got the easiest one, bar Anfield away.
The second half,
bar Anfield away. That's the only one. But Liverpool still have to go to Aston Villa. Liverpool still have to go to Chelsea. Liverpool still have to go to the Etihad. Liverpool still have to go to Everton and have to play them twice. And that's, that's an emotional game because it's a local rivalry. They still have tough away fixtures to go. They still have to play Bournemouth away, for goodness sakes. Like, I know that sounds ridiculous, but Bournemouth away is not an easy game, is it, this season? They're still going to have to go to Fulham away. Guys, we know these teams.
And Forest away as well, T.
And
Forest, and they lost to Forest at home.
Yeah. Exactly. And then, exactly that. And then also, we still have to play Brentford away. And Brentford are one of the.
They have not lost. They have not lost at home. And Buemo's my guy.
So, I've seen their running is more difficult with Chelsea, for example. If you class them in a title race, I just think they're a little bit defensively. They're not good enough to sustain when the pressure. Really
they'll draw a few games when they shouldn't. And
when they shouldn't. They're very good going forward. They've got and they are very good in that way. And I rate Jackson highly. Cole Palmer's a wonderful player. He's getting crowned a bit too early again, but still a wonderful player. Cole Palmer, and they've got their midfield is really.
Saito's playing party style.
I think that midfield is well balanced at the moment, and that's because Enzo's not playing deeper, as I always said. But then you can't rely on Romeo Lavia to stay fit all the time as well. And then beyond that, I don't think Kieran Dewsbury Hall.
Premier League, make this game right here one of the final games of the season where Everton can ruin Liverpool. Let's do this, Pran.
Our goal is, guys, and that's for me, and I feel very strongly on this, get within 4 points by the 1st of February. If we're within 4 points by the 1st of February, we've got this. Seriously.
King, what do you think?
I don't even think we need to win at Anfield. I don't even think we need to win, just not lose.
Draw,
Yeah, I think for me,
your thoughts similar,
I'm quite similar to Tariq because I've looked at us this season, and when I watch Arsenal, I always like to look at the whole picture to get a fair assessment of what's going on. What are we doing well? What are we doing less well? Is there a reason for it? And for me, this season we have more weapons to score. The problem is that we've had so many injuries and too many red cards. You can't have 3 red cards in the first
Yeah.
8 games. That's not good enough. It's like 40% of the games we're playing with 10 men. It's not good enough. And that's
It's
something
funny
that,
how new emphasis on rules always get enforced on us, but nobody else.
yeah, they do. But also, when that happens, the players now should already know
Got to
that
learn. Yeah, you got to learn.
the refs are not our friends. Like, they're not gonna do any favors
They're
to us.
looking to get us.
We have to understand that they are the enemy. And if we just have that mentality that they are the enemy, they're not gonna be
Yeah.
fair, we won't put ourselves in
Talk to
unnecessary
them nice.
situation where
Let Odegaard
we
talk
can
to these
be
refs.
be hardly judged. Like for example, Declan Rice. I know it's ridiculous, but if he doesn't touch the ball, there's no decision to make. If Trossard doesn't kick the ball, there's no decision to make. The Saliba one, that can happen in football. Like, it happens. We see it almost every week. That one, I'm not gonna blame him too
Yeah,
much.
but
What we can say,
it's mostly a yellow card. It's not.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that situation is very hard for him to do something different because the pass from Trossard was so poor. He had to react and he made the wrong decision. It can happen in football. What I'm saying is that you don't need to kick the ball away or touch the ball away. You don't need to. That's not like a match situation require you to make a decision. And I think if we can just block those feelings away and just focus on the game and make sure that the players are fit and make sure that we don't drop more points than Liverpool. So let's say if Liverpool drop 9 points in the next 12 games, we have to make sure that we drop 6 points so that we keep on getting closer to them. And as
Yeah.
Tariq said, I think if we get closer to Liverpool, they will start to feel the pressure. Like, it's all rosy now.
Could
We've
be,
been
yeah,
there.
all
Like,
4 of us. Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool. We could all be
Yeah.
close, and Liverpool will be feeling it.
2022, 2022, we were flying and we looked like we were just gonna wrap up the league. Like, we had a better record than what Liverpool are having now. But injuries happen, pressure happen, like, and we've been in those pressure moments, and we showed last season that we can handle it. We were unlucky. It's like Trossard
Only thing
scored
I
that
could have
goal
hoped
against.
for, guys, was Champions League. Liverpool being in the middle would have helped, and a couple
But-
extra games. But yeah, as long as we get our top 8, that's what I want to move on to is Champions League. Like, what do you think of the Monaco game? What do you think we've done so far? We're kind of accomplishing our goals here. But yeah, I want to get on to Champions League too. Go ahead, Tree.
I will segue this into the Champions League because I was going to link it with the Champions League anyway in terms of Liverpool. Don't forget, look at how that Bayern game affected us last year.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that Villa game was slap
Liverpool,
bang in the middle between the Bayern home and away. And look how that
Yeah.
affected us. Look at when Liverpool faded away last year. That was Europa League. I know they're much more stable now, but if you think that we've got an attacking problem, guys, and we're over reliant on Saka, bloody hell, go check out the reliance Liverpool have on Mohamed Salah in terms of their attack.
I think it's
Please
like
do.
he's involved in like 75 or 80% of
more
their
than that
goals.
now. It's over 75 now. It is. So Liverpool, because they have Salah, we don't talk about them as needing a striker because they've got a 20, 30 goal, maybe 40 this year with the way he's in, goal a season forward. However, they said the same. I spoke to Liverpool fans, big up ends. I've spoke to Savage. I think you've met him as well. Was you on the panel with them as well? Yeah, when we did the Arsenal preview. Yeah, I spoke to Liverpool fans. This was the issue they were talking about. They don't have enough goal scorers outside of Salah in their team. Their same fragilities in midfield are still there. If Gravenberch, not forget injured, slightly drops off, has a poor game,
McAllister's a key to them.
They're screwed in that position because of what he provides to them. Yet McAllister, you saw the difference against Girona with them there. So remember when the pressure starts to turn, I still think Liverpool they're in a good position because they've got world class, all-star, all-timers in their team in Van Dijk, Alisson, Salah, Trent. Those are the top world class, I think, players that they've got generational. But guys, if we're within there, and
Is
I think
Liverpool in
in
the Carabao
terms
still? I forget.
of yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Champions League. But that's how it could affect Liverpool and us. With us in the Champions League, though, as you mentioned, Moss, is how teams are setting up. I think with the games, what you see within the Champions League.
I think the new. I told everyone to start. I think the new format helps us in Arteta. It's better for us.
Do you think it
not
helps?
having 2 games against one club? You know.
I mean, yeah, I see that, but I also see Arteta when he has 2 games against a team. Like I know, apart from Fulham and Villa last year, they were the only 2 teams that we couldn't get to. But with 2 teams against Arteta, and now the players are more seasoned as a group in the Champions League than what last year. You could still see the fragilities in terms of what they didn't have in their experience against Porto. You saw in the away one, and against Bayern Munich away especially. Look at how we are the Sporting game and even Atalanta game went to me. Wow, they are learning. I know we could have lost the Atalanta game because it was a great penalty save, but apart from that, they didn't create anything else, and we're able to stifle a top team like Atalanta, and that's showing that Sporting. I know they haven't been great since, but in that form that they were going into it, it's still a tough place to go. I mean, Man City got win and lost there. Even the game we lost into Milan showed me a lot, and that was
they sat back. They were at home and they were sitting back on us.
And again, it was because of the form that we was in that period. It was a lot harder to look in just isolation because we haven't won a game in a while. This, that, the other. I think it was just after Newcastle as well, the Inter Milan game, wasn't it? And we lost to Bournemouth not long, and we just drew to Liverpool, and we had a win in 5 or 6. It was a lot harder. But the performance, I promise you now that you can separate from there and you can look back at it against Inter Milan, a top team, a European giant who are one of the best teams in Europe, a deep squad, and how we perform there. We know our weaknesses. We aren't clinical. We're not ruthless. That might cost us in terms of winning the Champions League, and that's why I don't think we. That's the only thing that's holding me back from saying we will win the Champions League is because in these games,
I think it might be our best chance.
You won't have many chances, but you won't have many chances, and you'll have to take them. We can't do what we did against Monaco because in the later rounds, when you're coming up against Real Madrid, or
they would have tied that up 1-1 or took the lead.
Liverpool, etc.
Bayern.
Again, we saw it against Bayern last year. Ben White had a huge opportunity, but we didn't really create.
Ben White had that massive chance.
And that's what.
I think Saka was a clear tender.
But having said that, we could still do it because, if for goodness sake, Chelsea won it with Timo Werner. And they had a worse version of
Kai Havertz.
A worse
and
version.
Mount.
Mount Garbage. The United guys love that tweet today. I called him SAIT Mount of Garbage.
How we manage set pieces in that competition will be key.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. What I do like with our chances in the Champions League is how good we are on set pieces. Like we've seen Man United score from 2 corners, winning the Champions League. We saw Didier Drogba score that header from a corner in the Champions League that later on made them win.
Could put us over the top. You're right.
Champions League finals is not often. Yeah, exactly. Sergio Ramos. They're not high-scoring goals usually.
Last year, Danny Cavarlo header to win. Corner.
Exactly, from the semi-final onto the final, it's not many goals in those kind of games. So if you can just not concede,
I always see his name right.
and score from a set piece, you can do it. And we do know that we have 2 clutch players in Trossard and in Saka who can turn it up and be that X factor in a tight game. So that's for us. But we do need players fit. I think availability is going to be key.
What did you think of the Monaco match, King, too?
I think when the draws, starting home, starting away, I think all of these things gonna help us looking at the schedule and which teams we are facing in the league when we are in the
Swedish
Champions League
GOONER
as
coming
well.
on. Kulusevski, sorry, King. Kulusevski's
Yeah,
on.
yeah. So I think the Champions League we have a good opportunity. I do hope that we try and win the Carabao. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea.
But yeah, let's
I just
strike that
think
off
that
so people can say we got a trophy and stop harping on that Arteta can't win a trophy. Let's just get
yeah,
that
and
Carabao in the back pocket and let's get this Champions League. I mean, Champions League, I think we have a great shot. I mean, my goal this season was this new format. Let's get into that top 8 and look at the teams that are struggling. PSG, Man City, Real Madrid. Yeah. Beating Madrid and scoring on Madrid ain't for anyone, but it's for Jonathan David, folks. It's for him. Beat them both.
That's the second Jonathan David mentioned in the stream.
There's one more to go.
One more.
I've said it. He's JD's agent. He just don't want to admit it.
I know.
There's some Arsenal fans are coming around. I've pushed hard enough for 4 years. They're starting to come around again. It's a free transfer this summer. We love that.
Yeah. Oh, but talking about if we go ahead, the 2 windows. Let's start with the January window, guys. Would you do something in the January window, and what would you try and do?
I would try to do something.
Here's our player. Before we get into here's our all comps. This is what I was saying to King earlier, Tariq, that we need that, Odegaard or Trossard, Martin. We just need them. We can't just be Saka, Kai. We need a couple more players to start getting that goal and assist. Rangers goal! Screw you, Spuds! I told you, Rosie. Rangers are beating the Spuds.
I've just popped it in the private chat so that we don't forget the window part. But Carrie, what would you say?
Yeah, I got that in a banner too. But yeah, just maybe your thoughts on some of our player performances, and like just getting some of those tertiary, secondary scoring we need to pick up.
Should we talk about the good player performances or the ones that can improve first? Because I think it will be both of them are very interesting.
Yeah. Let's talk about the good ones, and then we can talk about those who has to improve.
Can I start? Can we start? I'm going to start from back to front. Yeah. Can we talk about David Raya? Because I have to talk about him with King here because how it was from last season. From before we signed him, I was very much I was like, Ramsdale's a good keeper. And King sent me a message on Twitter, and I won't forget it. And he sent me the statistics. And I know some of you guys aren't big fans of stats, but especially with the goalkeepers, it can be a bit harder to do with underlying stats and stuff. But King was concerned with Ramsdale in terms of the goals that he's letting in and the mistakes that he tends to make, and he thought that we could have improved on that. I was like, yeah, and he mentioned a keeper like David Raya, and he was like, I think David Raya would be better, and I was like, I think around the similar level. But as soon as I saw David Raya in his first game against Everton, as soon as then I went, David Raya is better than Aaron Ramsdale, and that not all Arsenal fans felt that way. I'm sure some of you guys in the chat didn't. I'm not sure on you, Moss. I don't know on this with the Raya Ramsdale thing, but I
loved Rami. I loved the intensity. Yeah, but man, I can admit that there is an issue, and if Arteta has an issue, well, you can't let that keep bugging you and going and going. So they wanted Raya before Ramsdale. They had a chance to get him. They went for it. And now this season, you can see the confidence and the stability Raya gives our whole back four. They just know what to expect from him.
Exactly. Yeah. And with that confidence that he now has.
He's near world class. I mean, he's starting for Spain now over the other guy.
because last season we saw glimpses, but we didn't quite see him be himself. Because when I spoke about that little bit of personality thing with Kivior,
it's hard to come into it.
With Raya, is because wow, this is my first big move at a massive club. Every big game for him was the first time he's played in a game of that level and magnitude.
And he's gone from second or third choice Spain to first choice.
Exactly. And what we're seeing with David Raya now, I think the saves that he made earlier in the season really bought the hearts of the Arsenal fans. But forget that. What he offers us in possession is an absolute joke. His
hands are very good. His hands are good.
Oh, the collecting from crosses. That's what we saw last year. And that's what I saw.
I think he's best in the world coming out and collecting the ball.
Miles. That Ramsdale's weakness was collecting.
Oh, yeah. It was so annoying.
David Raya is the best keeper in the world at collecting crosses. I know it sounds mad and like, oh, Tariq, what? There's only one aspect to goalkeeping. It ain't that hard. Trust me. Watch Andre Onana. Watch Vicario. Watch Edison. Watch them collect. Ramsdale.
My critique was he was too short. Too short for me to be a goalie. But man, when your hands are that good, your control, your passing, your feet is so good.
And speak about his passing, because look at the positions that he takes up in our back. He's in possession.
Yeah, he'll be way out wide. He'll be way up when
And look at the balls that he can play as well.
And that's what Arteta wanted. He wanted Ramsdale 100% focused always. And then they started bringing up, he's wandering. He's not focused. He's not 100% in it.
Exactly. I think within the last three weeks, though, I do think we've even seen another development in Raya. Well, not necessarily development because he always had it, but we're seeing him take more risk in terms of his passing now. We've gone less longer. His long passing's very good. Look at his statistics. King also sent me those stuff before, but his short passing is looking a lot more sharper and crisper. And I think playing for Spain has given him that, I think playing for Spain has given him that confidence to go and do that because they're not asking him to lump it long. Like, whereas we do that probably safety out of times. So, because we're comfortable in that, we're comfortable in getting the second balls because as again, Arteta wants us to be the kings of everything. We are very comfortable playing short or going long. And sometimes we take the easier option and going long. But now with Odegaard back in the team, we are going short. With Partey looking fitter and a bit more stronger, we are going short. We're building those connections, and now Raya has been instrumental. And because we've conceded ridiculous goals like Neto, like Jimenez, like James Justin scoring that goal, and those things, and other little bits and errors that we're not getting the clean sheets to show for it. And Emerson's free kick, for goodness sakes, but Raya has been a joy to watch this year in terms of goalkeeping, a joy in terms of stability that he's given us in that part of the pitch, and what he gives us in possession too. So I have to mention David Raya.
And I'm going to read you the XG of 4 of the last 5 goals that we've conceded. So Pedro Neto, 0.02 XG. Jimenez, 0.05 XG. Emerson, 0.09 XG. Ignacio, 0.05 XG. So the goals that we are conceding, they don't even amount to
10% in every
one. Yeah. So we have been unlucky with these worldy strikes, but with Raya also, I think a lot of fans didn't take this into context. Last season, he's coming in and he's supposed to replace one of the most loved and popular figure in the camp and by the fans and the media.
Mm-hmm.
So directly, the focus is on Raya versus Ramsdale from the media, the pundits, the journalists, the fans. And he's come from a very small, comfortable environment in Brentford to big team, Arsenal, City Life, Champions League, Premier League aspirations. That switch was very big for him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he looked nervous in the beginning. You could see that the quality was there, but he was making mistakes because he wasn't settled. Every time he made a save, the camera went on Ramsdale. Every time Arsenal played, Gary Neville and all these people from Sky were talking about, oh, who's the number one? Was this really necessary? Is this just a small margin of improvement? Ramsdale gets sold. Raya is number one, and we see a totally different goalkeeper. And even through the end of last season, we were starting to see, okay, this is the reason why they've chosen Raya. When he felt like he was the number one, he was playing week in and week out. You could see that his confidence was growing. And because he's such a cool figure, and when you listen to his interview, you can tell that he has the winning mentality. He says the right thing. He come across very intelligent, and that gives confidence
Yeah.
to the backline. And you can see that they trust him. You can see that they really trust him. And you can see now when he's starting to make these world-class saves, these spectacular saves, the fans have taken him to his heart, and that's helped him to even reach another level. And again, that shows that we as supporters also have massive say on players' confidence. Like
Yeah.
we have to understand that we are there to support. We are supporters. We are fans. We can
100%.
give constructive criticism is normal. We can be upset, but at the end of the day, don't forget players are humans. They have feelings. They are emotional.
And they're very
They
young.
need to, yeah, and they are young, and they are young people. Like most of them are under the age of 35, and in real life, you're seen as a young person up until the age of 40.
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
we have to also remember some of these guys are 17, some of them are 18, some of them are early 20s, mid 20s. Like
And if
we
we
need to
remember,
support them.
exactly. And you know, when you look at the likes of Martinelli, when I know I'm 26 now. I'm still young.
Yeah.
I know I am. I don't even have the same level of
Jeez,
responsibility
it's
or
been that
pressure
many
that these
years
guys have.
already. I've known
So
you.
exactly. So for me, like the pressure that you're giving these guys again. Well, when we talk about, you know, that why isn't he not playing one year every week in week out? Miles Lewis Skelly, guys, mentally they're not ready for that. They're physically and
Yeah,
technically
everyone,
might
like all the
be.
Woodies, all these people always complaining, oh, he won't play the young guys. And then I'm hearing them yesterday, we play MLS. Oh, it's too big for him. Well, he looked fine. I said he would be
Yeah.
fine.
He do,
But at the
yeah.
start of the year, I think he had a plan for Wanyeri no matter what. And even though Odegaard got hurt, he stuck to his plan no matter what,
But
Arteta, that I'm just going to play him in the League Cups. He's going to sub in a lot, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I think he's
Well,
just sticking to the plan because he knows how precious this young guy is, and we know we got another worldie on our hands in Ethan Wanyeri.
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And that's
how?
and all I was just saying. Sorry, I cut you off,
Yeah,
King.
yeah, go on.
Sorry, I cut
Because
you off.
like, even though they're brilliant talents, and Wanyeri here could have been given more minutes. Yeah, he could have been. But Arteta, and the same with Miles, but Arteta is so keyed in on we've spent how many years nurturing these talents? Before any of us even knew
We're
what an
not
Ethan
rushing it.
Wanyeri was or a Miles Lewis Skelly was, nurturing those talents, getting them through the academy, making sure they're in the right house, right area, all these things. The parents are having the best, like all sorts, having the best nutrition, everything growing up, the best care, you know, the best education. That to just throw them at the deep end and just let them sink or swim. No, they're going to really build them and
We had
train
to do
them.
that with Saka because we sucked back then.
But that's
Yeah,
yeah,
but
exactly.
also remember one thing, T. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Arteta have seen what's happened to Theo Walcott, what's happened to Jack Wilshere, what's happened to Kieran Gibbs. He have seen Aaron Ramsey. You've seen world-class talent
Wilshire.
not becoming world-class players because we as a club didn't take care
ESR.
of them enough. We didn't nurture them enough and protect them
Physically,
enough,
mentally, all of it.
physically, mentally.
Whoa,
And when you
Rangers
look at
nearly a big
how
error there.
Mhm.
look at Man City, yeah, and look at how Pep nurtured Foden, how he took time with him at the talent that Foden had, but still he just played a few games when he was 18 a few games when he was 19. And, each year he was getting more and more game time. We've seen it with Cole Palmer now. Like, we didn't see him at 17. We didn't know him at 17. We didn't know him at 18. We've heard about him. We heard about his talent. But they take their time with him. And that is because you have to take the risk factor versus the outcome. And in this instance, I'm one of Ethan's biggest fans. And I wanted to see more of him. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
just thought while Odegaard was out, we should have gave him one start. Otherwise I'm on board with Arteta saving him a bit, leaving for League Cup, maybe an FA Cup coming up too. But man,
then you look
so
at
stubborn sometimes. While Odegaard was out, it would have been good to give him his first Premier League start. That Southampton game was the one I earmarked for him.
But look at two of the best talents that we've ever seen in the Premier League in Cesc Fabregas and Wayne Rooney. And look at when their peak ended. And ask yourself why.
Michael Owen fell apart, late 20s.
Yeah, like Michael Owen was a Ballon d'Or winner.
Young age.
At an early age. Wayne Rooney was scoring hat-tricks in the Champions League. Fabregas was running the Premier League as a teenager.
Yeah.
Well, we couldn't see that when they were 28, 29, 30, 31, 22. And then you look at CR7, for example, and look at how Sir Alex nurtured him and took time with him, and Pep with Messi. You don't think these two talents could have played more football at 17, 18, 19? Of course they could have. But if they did, would they have become and played for that amount of years like they did? I don't think so. Because we haven't seen anyone play at the highest level from the age of 17 all the way up to 30. We haven't seen it.
Also,
we don't have one example.
Yeah, exactly. And just to add to King's point, because I 100% agree with him, I'm going to give you the psychological factor. Right, Moss. So let's say he starts that game against Southampton. I'm going to give you the both ends. I'm going to say he is outstanding and he's brilliant.
Then you have to play him, but he doesn't want to. I hear you.
There you go. There you go. You've got a 17-year-old who he's
then you have to be playing him.
Well, God, you're back. I don't care now. I got the fans screaming for me. I'm here. Why am I not playing? Why am I not?
We got the Woodies hating on Odegaard as much as they can anyway.
Whereas now he knows the plan at Arsenal. He knows they've given him the pathway. That's why he signed the new deal. That's why he stayed at Arsenal, didn't go to Man City.
And the best thing I heard for him is Odegaard's taking personal responsibility, Wanyeri, on and off the pitch, everyday practice, taking him under his wing all the time. That's the best thing I could ever heard.
I've given you the best case scenario. He's going to expect to play week in, week out, or get more starts after that. Yeah. So let's give you another scenario.
Then he feels disappointed. You're right.
He doesn't do that well. And we know, as we're trying to talk about, we literally know, we've seen it with Martinelli, etc., vice versa. We've seen it with Kobe Mainu, all sorts. One bad game, you're overhyped. Get him out. Now, who's this? Well, we need to sign a new attacking midfielder. And you're telling me to a 17
gets an injury. Oh, you shouldn't have been playing on.
Yeah.
But look at Cole Palmer, even at the start of the season. People were starting to say, oh, he's overrated. He's not a big game player, all this, all of that. Like, look at Jude. Look at Jude Bellingham. Exactly. Look at the love he was getting last season. And now look at what he's getting this season. You think that's good for his mentality?
Jude Bellingham is way more like developed in experience-wise and even physically developed, but even more experienced in terms of mentally than Wanyeri. And Jude Bellingham said that affected me. What the comments were being said about in the Euros.
Yeah, I heard that.
And he talked if he never felt the love like that affected, and you saw it in the beginning of the season for him. So trust me, these guys know. The fact that Wanyeri signs, the fact that Miles Lewis Skelly's here, they know what it means, like what the plan is for them, and even physically, they might growing pains and things like there's so many things like physically they can't play week in week out. I think let's be honest, when we've seen Wanyeri when he started, he's had to come off because he's cramped up every 70 minutes. He's
Yeah.
not
He's so fired
physically.
up.
The
He's so ready to
intensity of
go
the
that
Premier
he's.
League is
Not
so much
physically
higher
there
than
yet.
under 21. It's
But
like
man,
two
this
different worlds.
guy is special, you guys. Like the
No,
way
it
he's
is.
confident in his shot, the way he goes at guys one-on-one. That's why I was like, well, I don't necessarily want him to have to play Odegaard's spot. I almost want to see him with Odegaard on a wing and just going at players one-on-one, taking them on.
It will happen. It will happen in time.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
as we said, like, because he's not physically there yet either, like when you start a player, you have to be ready to play 90 minutes. Yeah, not all that doesn't happen all the time, but the reason why you have to be ready is because if in the case of a red card or in the case of injuries, whereas like no, Havertz
You're
could have
just
picked up
hitting
a
the
knock,
wall. You're
Saka,
young. You're
vice
fired
versa,
up. All of a sudden, you
and
hit
then
the wall.
and we've made all of our subs because of
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z. So, and then you have to play the full game, and they're not
Yeah.
quite there yet physically either. So, yeah, look at Miles, brilliant yesterday. But if we kept him on for 90 minutes, we might be looking at him. Oh,
Yeah,
fuck,
apparently he had a
Zinchenko.
bad foot infection
You know,
that
like,
was keeping him
yeah,
out.
like you know what we did with Zinchenko against Man United. That's what we should have done earlier. Like, it'd take him off early because you see when Zinchenko gets tired and his concentration
It
drops,
falls apart.
he's a calamity. And because he's not a
Yeah.
natural defender, and I don't think Miles is either. But Miles is so
Miles is a
comfortable in
midfielder.
possession.
I saw him play the under 21s last
Yeah,
year.
I know you.
Do you know what I like about
MLS.
mine?
I was like, this guy is like an old head, man. Like his head's on a swivel. He's organizing. His touch is perfect, MLS. So it's interesting to see him play left back. I mean, Arteta is adapting these guys and trying to get them into the first team.
Yeah. And do you know what? One thing that I like about Miles, and it's the same thing that I like about Saka. And I remember like 2 years ago when the debate was, is Martinelli better or is Saka better? And I always said that Saka has something that other players doesn't have, and that is his footballing IQ and his decision making is elite.
It is.
And that's why I always saw him as the
I brought up
biggest talent.
King. I sent to you that thing that Henri said because he was coaching him as a young guy, Saka, in the Arsenal club back then. And he was like, he didn't rate him at all. But you remember like 15, 16, 17, Saka could not finish the ball worth his life. ESR was a much better finisher, but he's worked his ass off. His shot is way better than when he first came into our senior side.
Yeah, but my point was always that if you have the footballing IQ and you make the right decision, other things you can develop by age and training. But like decision making, if you don't have it, you can be a better shooter, but if you shoot from the wrong angle, you're not scoring. If you're shooting when you're supposed to pass, you're not scoring. If you're passing when you're supposed to shoot, it's not a goal.
He's really figured
And these
that out.
are things that Saka just have naturally. And Miles,
really
I see it in him as well. He takes the right decisions. He knows when to fall back, when to attack, when to release the ball, when to dribble, I like it. Like he's so smart. And I like smart players because they make football easy.
Yeah.
And Saka make football look
Kai
easy.
Havertz is a smart player.
That
That's
in
why he
Miles
works
as well.
so well with Odegaard.
And I think that's why Arteta trusts him at left back, even though he's a midfielder at that age, because we have to understand he's just 18 and he's playing at a senior level position. That's not his natural position.
Yeah.
You have to be really smart to be able to do that. It's not just enough to be talented or be good. So I feel like in them two, and Miles and Ethan, we have really special players. And with a bit of patience, we will see more from them. I know we're all eager,
Next year's
because
huge
they're so
for them.
exciting. Ethan has that X factor that will get you out of the seat. He would do that dribble, he would score that wonder goal. But it will come, guys. I promise you. Arsenal have a plan for them.
Let's get on to this too, King. You wanted to talk about Arteta's job this season so far. Edu leaving. Do you have any thoughts on that? And then the January window's coming up too. And then we'll talk about our players and world classness. If anyone wants to hop on, I put the link in there too.
So King, your question about January. What would you do? Then I'll have a think whilst you're giving your answer.
Do we need anything? Do we need this director in this year? Should we wait for next year?
My only problem
guy
with
Luke brought up, sorry, King. Sociedad Olabe guy. I don't know how you say his name, but yeah, I mean, how many Sociedad guys do we got in our team? Maybe it'll help Isaac come over too. I don't know.
Yeah. Imagine if that is pitch to Arteta and the club that
I'll bring you Isaac back with Odegaard.
Yeah.
Marino played there.
Yep.
Yeah. My only problem with the January window is what effect will it have on the summer window?
Yeah.
Because ideally,
we have the money now too, right? Like, because we did so much selling towards the end of the window summer there. We have the money January, but you can see Arteta doesn't want to just buy for the sake of buying. He wants the right fit on all angles. Sorry, King.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is that we're going to have a lot of players that are probably going to leave the club again. So there's a high opportunity. Obviously, Sterling is leaving, and Nelson will leave on a permanent.
He got hurt bad. Jeez.
Most likely, we will sell Fabio Vieira. We have the midfield with Jorginho and Partey.
We might make some money on Nuno Tavares.
Is that both of them are going to leave. Tomiyasu and Zinchenko, at least one of them will leave. Tierney definitely leaving. That's a lot of first-team players that are leaving.
Jesus, maybe.
And then that means, I mentioned Jesus. That means that we're going to need to bring in.
To me, it's more, now we're coming at it from where we used to be need and we needed to fill holes. Now we're coming at it with power. Like, now it's only, well, if you're going to give us a big offer for Trossard, okay. If you're going to give us a big offer for Jesus, okay. Zinchenko. But we don't have to do anything now. You know, we need to. Serie A, you want Kivior, then pay up. You know, we don't have to sell. We don't have to buy either.
Yeah, but as King is saying, we're selling. A lot of players could be leaving. So, as you're saying, King?
Yes. Yep. So, for example, I think the only attacker that I could see us get in January is probably Lookman. I can't see us get Isak or Gyökeres. I can't see any of them leave. I don't think Nico Williams.
Mohamed Kudus
in the January. Kudus is definitely not leaving in January. And if you invest,
I don't think Lookman's leaving personally.
No, I don't think so either. So that's the problem. So if you can't get a Lookman,
you're doing too good.
Then really, it's not worth buying, and it's not worth buying a player that is not as good as a Lookman. If we're buying a player that's not at that level or higher,
Nico Williams,
we are just putting ourselves in a box that come the summer is a new problem. Like we already, because the left side is already need an upgrade. So if we get someone who's not clearly better than Martinelli or Trossard, then we've put ourselves in a box. So I think come January, let's just get players fit.
Yeah.
Honestly. And then come the summer, when we know who's leaving, that's when you can go and get an Isak, try and get a Nico Williams, try and get a Carlos Baleba or Adam Wharton. You know, try and get top players.
David on the free. There's the third David.
Who's gonna be able to get into the 11 and raise the floor level at the same time, because we know that we have a very good 11. But look at like what the thing with Chelsea, why they are doing so well is because they can start Sancho, they can start Neto, they can start Madueke, they can start Nico, they can start what's it called? The French guy, Nkunku,
Felix.
Felix. There's so many options. We need to get back to that where we can start a Nico Williams, or we can start a Isak, or we can start a Kai Havertz, we can start a Saka. You know, we need options as well.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what's going to happen is that our best players eventually are naturally going to get burnt out. They're not going to
And
be able
you
to
need, like we used to have in
press.
Invincibles time and before, you got to
And
be battling for your spot. You know,
yeah,
you're picking
yeah,
up little injuries. The next guy's in, and then he's on a roll, and it's hard to replace him. You know, we need
that has
those battles. We need the battles for the positions.
yeah, and that's why I'm going to come to my conclusion. As much as I would like reinforcements in January, if it's not a player that's going to
First
improve
score.
us directly, I rather wait come the summer. I don't know where
Yeah.
you two are
Oh,
in January with that.
Kulisevsky, I called it.
I'm with you, King. Personally, I am, and that's because again, if the market allowed us to do something that a signing that we'd essentially make in the summer, but do it in January, we'll do it.
Kulisevsky.
But I don't want us to do take a risk on someone that is a shorter term signing. So, and a risk like that, and then jeopardize what we do in the summer. Essentially, like I know I want the win now. I do, and and I'm sure if Arsenal feel like they can do it, they will in January. But because the market is completely different, as you said. Look at the list of players that I'm sure would be interested in.
Well, and Tariq, people keep coming to me about David and saying, well, why not buy him in January? But people like Atalanta and Lookman too, you don't understand how huge the Champions League is for money for these clubs. And Lille is nearly top 8 here. Like they've beat the Madrid team. They're not selling Jonathan David for 10 million. It's not worth it to them. 50 million.
Right, exactly.
He's going to get his free agency and do whatever he wants this summer, but they're not going to. While they're in the Champions League, they're not selling in January. People got to get their heads a shake.
Yeah, so exactly. Look at the players that you're mentioning. They're important players that they've built around for at least this season. Like these aren't.
That's why you're not getting Isak in January either. Like
and anyone's and because the level we're at now, guys, any one squad player isn't enough for Arsenal. Like yes, we signed Erdegaard, but I'm sorry, that Erdegaard of then isn't good enough for Arsenal of now. You know what I mean? Like in terms of the level
then, we needed him desperately, but now we wouldn't need that.
Even like a Trossard now, we don't need a Trossard. We need a starter. We already have the Trossard level. We need the next level.
Yeah,
exactly. And Erdegaard.
So that's why I say we sit back and we say, well, hey, if someone's going to offer us what we want for some players, we'll sell. But other than that,
and anyone's squad player. And like, if anyone's squad player isn't going to come to us because they'd essentially be a squad player for us, they're not going to swap bench.
They're not going
to go somewhere where they're going to play. So that's why January is very difficult. I understand the clamour. Why we're not, when fans say we're not serious for signing players in Jan. No,
Luke knows now. Luke's been around me long enough. He knows.
Summer, yeah. If you can, I can hear those a little bit more. I'm still always like a bit cautious to go fully in, but I hear it more in the summer. For the summer, it's very important. King mentioned this, and it's so true. And you know what? I've thought about it, but I kind of forgot about it. We've got so many players that will be leaving, as you just listed there, and then players that are out of contracts. At least one of Jorginho and Partey.
Players and agents want to come to us.
At least one of Partey or Jorginho are going to leave. Tierney, Samuel Lokonga, all of these players that we're going to be shifted, which will help in terms of wages and those things. Yeah. But we're at a point now where the reason Liverpool and Chelsea, I put this in a tweet, the reason like they're above us essentially is because I don't think they've got better 11s or in squads in all areas, but they've got good squad depth.
Yeah,
Liverpool,
they've had guys fill in and do the business.
Injured, Kelleher, big difference. Yeah. Look, Jota injured, Nunes. I know he's not as good as Jota, but he's still better than
TAA's out. They got the young guy came in.
Kid's not even played. Szoboszlai not performing. Curtis Jones, you come in and you will shine.
Curtis Jones has had a great season.
Konate gets injured. I know Joe Gomez against Man City. Good. I know if we talk about that. Konate and Van Dijk are one of those though. I think because the time.
This is why they could lose some points without Konate. Hey,
they've got certain areas. And they've also had a little bit of luck as well, guys. Because again, if a Salah gets injured. Again, Trent got injured. Real Madrid, Conor Bradley, man of the match. Like that's what we're talking about. And they've also had a little
in.
bit of luck because if a Van Dijk gets injured, or if a Gravenberch got injured, or if a Salah got injured, because we've missed Saka.
Look at this Igamane's legs. Holy.
Saka's been injured this season. Erdegaard's been injured this season. Saliba's been suspended. Gabriel's been injured this season. We have had unfortunate injuries that everyone was always quick to say Arsenal have been so lucky last year and the other seasons, blah, blah, blah. But this is what I'm saying. And Chelsea, that they're able to play different 11s because they're in a much lower competition. Where if you stuck them even in the Europa League, they might not be able to get away with playing that level of player in there and having to play maybe Cole Palmer and get his legs.
They haven't even registered him for the Conference League.
Exactly. So it's a little bit different. He's not even played a Carabao Cup game either, and they're out of it.
Yeah.
So that's
they're only signing Liverpool is Band-Aid. For the summer, like if I want to ask you guys and guys in the chat as well, there's probably maybe one or two at most positions that you feel like we really need to not need because we're still a very good team, but can upgrade on. People say the left and striker. Yeah. Really. Go ahead, King. Go ahead.
Again, I'm happy with Kai Havertz up top. Me personally, I am happy with Kai Havertz up top, but I'm not happy with playing Kai Havertz every single week up top. And you see it in terms of physically as well, in terms of how it impacts him. And Jesus is that's my disappointment with Jesus. He's not been able to take off that load of Kai Havertz. So if we brought an Isak or my issues with Isak is nothing to do with his ability. It's all about availability. That's what I need with Arsenal. Whoever we sign,
David never misses. Never injured. Iceman.
I'm just at the level they are. I know Jonathan David's good, but does he improve in terms of
he is? He's better than anything we got.
I don't think he does, but anyways, if I go on this, Moss will have me all night. So I just
31 goals, Canada leads League on. Big Champions League goals, made billions for Lille.
I've started him now. I've started him. It's my fault.
It's non-stop.
Look at the you probably
tell JD's agent that he's not good enough. Come on, talking
to his agent. Come on.
Look, I'm looking at what he. So what we also probably lack as well in terms of the forward, the attacking position is power and physicality. Like when I say maybe raw speed, apart from Martinelli, we don't really have anyone who's got that speed in behind. Again, not. I feel like we need a little bit more athleticism up top, though, Moss. That's what I'm looking at.
The way we want to play.
Isak gives you that as well as
Isak fits our system.
Nico Williams gives you that because he's very dangerous in a dribble 1v1.
Kudos can play anywhere.
These players give you that, so that's what Arsenal.
You would think Arteta would love Kudos because he's so versatile.
And because if Partey or Jorginho leave, we're gonna. So let's say.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We still need a center mid. Everyone says we need a left wing, and I still say we'll sell Jesus to Saudis or something. We need a striker.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, our D's in place now.
But then again, if we're selling a Tierney, Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, those players,
maybe we need
we're
one.
Probably gonna need
MLS is good.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, like, I think people underestimate how much of a squad build this summer can be, and that's why I said I don't think everybody that needs to leave can leave this summer. Exactly. So I think they will take a decision like, okay, Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, and Kivio, one of you can leave with KT, for example. I think they might look at Jorginho and Partey, keep one, let the other one go.
Come on, Rangers, don't pick one up.
Because I think Fabio Vieira will leave, Sambi will leave, Sterling will leave, Nelson will leave, Jesus will most likely leave. That's a lot of players.
Nuno Tavares, the sensation of Syria.
Tavares is obviously leaving.
He's already leaving. It's a buy option, which is all basically, one of them.
They love him over there.
Already a permanent, basically. One of them ones. Yeah.
But I think, Nico Williams, Adam Wharton, Alexander Isak. Is that realistic?
I think it's very expensive.
Jonathan David, Mohamed Kudus, and Frankie
I
De
think
Jong.
Kudus will cost more than Nico.
That would be world class.
Kudus would cost more than Nico Williams, that's for sure, because he's Premier League. But
everyone wants Nico Williams.
He's missed it. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't think Barcelona wants him anymore because Rafinha stepped up so much. Where is he playing?
And I'm sure Bilbao would want him out of
They
La
have
Liga.
Rafinha on the right,
Bilbao would
they have
rather him
Rafinha
go
on the
to
left.
them, I'm sure.
You know,
But
and then they have the squad options in Torres and them players like that.
yeah, I like
And
that.
they need a replacement for Lewandowski. Someone is going to take over from him.
Exactly. They're
Rangers, how did he not finish that?
It's true. Spot on, King. And then, so they've got other priorities at the moment. I would. Do you know what's mad? And you might kill me for this. I might sound like Arteta's son. I think we need to sign on the defender as well.
Get a few out and get one in.
I think we do, because like Miles' role will step up. I feel.
Well, I could see a selling Kivior though. I could see a selling Kivior while Serie A clubs want him.
Exactly, because if we sell,
he wants to start Kivior.
I feel like Zinchenko's got to go as well, but Miles can take Zinchenko's spot in terms of the role. In terms of
Tommy, we won't sell Tommy because we'll get nothing. We'll get nothing for Tommy.
He might take Zinchenko's spot next season. I mean, this season. I mean, sorry. The Rangers just scored an offside goal, so don't cheer. But I feel Miles might take Zinchenko's spot.
You're ahead of me.
Let alone next. Like, so, it's just one of them ones that you have to look at. So, Wharton, I'm with you on that, but
they're gonna want
to
shit
I feel like he probably needs one more season. One more.
Oh, there it is.
You keep Partey you extend with lower wages for a year. You get Wharton in. You let go of Jorginho, and you have Moreno and Rice.
Everyone was offside.
And Miles.
Okay. Do you feel like we need a left-footed DM? I think maybe, that could offer us a different type of balance, because then I'm still looking at Miles and like he could do something a little bit similar.
As he's growing older,
I think he's probably similar to Adam Wharton in terms of what he brings. Because Adam Wharton's very good at progressing.
He's really a center mid, Miles. Yeah, I've seen him there lots.
He's a very forward, thinking passer in that sense. Yeah, he's quite good in that.
Very good on the ball.
Yeah, very good on the ball. And I feel like that's what Miles is. But Miles, again, if Zinchenko's going to leave, he's going to take that spot. So we're going to have to cover. Yeah, I don't mind Adam Wharton. I definitely I would take him if we signed him. But I'm thinking about the priorities.
And Party wants to stay so bad, it wouldn't be hard to extend him. He would rather stay. He's not going to entertain Saudis. And
you know what? I would say I'm not sure if there's the difference in price, but I'd be more Belieber than Wharton.
Yeah, I prefer Belieber, but I think this price is the problem, because I think we're gonna go all in for a striker and a winger.
What about Zubamendi?
I think it's left the building.
Will it come?
He wants to stay.
If we look at how
they said Nico wouldn't leave the Liga, but now Nico's agent saying he would. It's the same with Zubamendi. It's like these guys need talked into it. I don't want them. If they need to be talked into coming to our club, I don't want them.
Do you know what I think the difference is? Nico's first preference was Barcelona.
Yeah.
They probably understood that Barca is not coming in for him this summer
Rafinha's had a good season.
Rafinha and Lamine Yamal. So, and obviously he's going to want to go to a club where he's going to start.
Mm-hmm.
So the next destination is the Prem, and they know that Mikel Arteta loves Nico Williams. He really wanted him. It's just the opportunity.
I gotta go at the end of these matches here, but we also want to talk our world-class players, because everyone's got a different way. Everyone's been talking about it around.
Martinelli goes Atletico, and Nico comes in.
Oh yeah, that would be about it.
Can you see?
That's a good idea.
Again, do you know
Martinelli would flourish.
Also, can I tell you something? let me say this as well, because one thing that we're forgetting as fans, what Arsenal are also they're not gonna
And
like to bring too many players in. Do you know why?
Yeah.
Because Arsenal don't want to
Hello,
let too many people to settle at one time, because that's a risk. That's the point that we're forgetting. Like, I think Arsenal could have signed more players this summer in terms of permanent. They probably could have even financially pushed it out, but they're thinking 3 players is a lot, is enough. Because if you bring in too many players, that's too much unsettlement. And let's be honest,
Chelsea, don't have a million players like Chelsea.
Especially if it's not Premier League players from the Prem.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even with the Prem, Declan Rice had to settle. I know he's still brilliant, but Kai Havertz had to settle last year. We had that settling in period. So it's easier adjustment. But like, look at Marino now. Marino and Calafiori, we know they're settling physically into the Premier League. I trust in their ability, and I think they will definitely come good. But we're watching them in real time settling, because Marino, sometimes the game looks a little bit too quick for him. But then in other moments, when the game slows down and when he comes off the bench, he looks outstanding. He looks like that Chelsea cameo. Oh my word, he was brilliant. Like, because the game, because that's when he can adjust to it, because he's coming off the bench. But that's not what we brought him in for. When he eventually settles, and that will be his performance from the start. Wow, what a player we've got! Like what we're seeing in moments. So that's another key factor that Arsenal are also looking at. Not too many players in one window.
Yeah,
I think we will see 4 players: a defender, a midfielder, a winger, and a striker.
And maybe one of those players is going to have to be a developmental, like, who's might not even play many. You know what I mean?
Defender,
young type player, because
like a Jarell Hato Ajax that we've looked at before.
So you don't have too many players settling at once, because I think that impacted Liverpool as well last year.
Let's go around the horn. Maybe start and welcome Dan from the GOONER channel. Big up.
How you doing, Dan?
Had his birthday the other day. We're about the same age, but everyone's got a different way. And Dan was talking about this on his channel too, like a way of classifying world class. Mine is just if no matter what you're starting, whether your national team, whether your club team, any formation, you're a starter, and you're always up among the best in your position. So for me, I think we have 3, but I put some options up there. How many do you think we have, Dan? Or is there any that are world class?
I'm a GOONER, right? So they're all world class. You get into the Arsenal. What I'd say is it's just another one of these debates. It's what we love about football, because you can have a million different opinions. Like when I think back to the last 2 seasons, people saying who's better, Foden or Saka, and go, well, it doesn't really matter, because I wouldn't swap Saka for Foden, right?
Mm-hmm. No, none of us would. I wouldn't swap.
And everyone wants Saliba. Everyone wants Saliba in the world. Come on.
Do you know what? Everyone wants Saliba. He's hot property, etc., etc. But the thing is, like, what it is to be world class. If I was putting together, if you define world class as the top 11 players in the world, which I think is a bit of a tight squeeze to get anyone in, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Then Saka, I don't know, maybe you do put Mo Salah in there. I mean, you guys were talking about it earlier. He's like 70-something% of Liverpool's goals are Salah. Yeah, so you kind of go, there are teams. I don't know if Mo Salah is that Diego Maradona type that can win a league for a team, but he's
right now on our poll question. Sorry, Dan. 40% on Champions League that we can win that one. Carabao Cup 30%, 20% Premier League. Get your votes in.
It's a tough poll because it's a cup. Do you know what I mean? When you hear all these so-called experts will give it.
Maybe we're getting 2 of them. Maybe we're getting 2.
You never know, man. You just don't know. I didn't put Chelsea favourites when they won the Champions League.
No.
It's a cup. Don't get me wrong. I'm like you said earlier. We're roughly the same age. I don't want to die not winning the Champions League. You need a little star, right? It's got to happen. But still, it's a cup. It's a cup. You get to the final, anything can happen.
Or even Borussia Dortmund getting there. Nobody.
Atalanta versus Bayer Leverkusen, right? And who had that? Who had Atalanta?
And then everyone down was saying Leverkusen's going to kill them, and then Atalanta killed them.
And look, and there's something else that you guys were talking about I really loved. I think
remember the Porto Monaco Champions League final. Nobody was expecting that.
No, you don't. Yeah. You can't. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. A tournament, and now even more so, it favours the clubs with the big squads, right? So if you've got a bigger squad, look at what happened to Villa as soon as they have to play the Champions League. You want to talk about the fact that Spurs just drew 1-1 with Rangers, right? I'm not knocking it.
Rangers should have won.
Should have done. The last offside was just a joke. There's 3 players like fully offside. But the point was with the Champions League, with the Europa League in football, last season, Spurs played 41 games. Their players got good at playing, and even then they had injuries.
And they couldn't get up for a Champions League title bout against Man City because they wanted us to fail. You know,
and now here they are, reaping the whirlwind at Rangers Stadium. You know, and I thought it was a great game, I have to say. But in terms of who's world class, the thing that really gets me nowadays.
So who are your Arsenal ones that you say are world class?
All right, listen. I mean, I've been loving on Miles Lewis-Skelly for so long. So I almost felt like it was my birthday yesterday. I had a little couple of things. I just had a little moment. I was like watching Saka.
I love that kid.
You know what? Like, I don't care what other people think of Bukayo Saka, right? We lost one of my birthday presents. My missus bought me a program for the match I was at. The Rocastle had just passed away, and it reminded me that David Rocky Rocastle died 6 months before Saka was born, and there's so many similarities. Warriors, skillful beyond belief, take the kicks every single game, come back stronger and stronger, dependable. Everyone loves them off the pitch, on the pitch, fighting hard.
Attitude,
And so when I saw Saka standing there talking about how at 22 years old, right? I could be his granddad. He's standing there, and Miles Lewis-Skelly is going, I could learn a lot from this. So I was like, at a certain point, that for me is world class.
Yeah.
Odegaard, I loved him when he was on loan. I was like, please don't bring players like this on loan. It's just not nice. You know, it's like when... someone comes to stay and they live in another country and you fall in love and you're like, please don't. Just
holiday romance.
Yes, exactly. Right. and then he came and then he moved in with us and then he's dependable and he might not be the Tony Adams style captain, but I love him. I love Gabriel.
Usually you're considered world class if you're starting on Brazil. So, I mean, there's a case for Gabriel. And we got the world champion Spain and our goalie is now their starter. So, I mean, there's a case for even more of our guys.
Marino's goal against Germany, and now he's
Rice.
A little bit, the jury's still out for me a little bit on Calafiori. Calafiori knows how to party. But I just think that basically he's an Arsenal player, so I'll get behind him. Same way Kai Havertz, you know. So are they world class? Difference does it make? They're mine. That's my team. I love them. There were so many times, like, talk to me about Koscielny. Never really liked him. You know, then all the Sami Nasris and the couldn't wait to get the hell out, right? And now we've got a group of players. No one's talking about leaving. Leaving.
Everyone's happy. Everyone's happy.
Except for a very loud and quite irritatingly vocal element of the Arsenal fan base who are kind of ruining the football.
10%ers, I call them. The woody
not ruin football for everyone as well, Dan. That's the thing, and they get living off of what rivals think. Really,
the opposition fans enjoy those guys.
The only thing, like, in terms of what I would say is world class, because world class is all subjective to whatever you think and whatever you believe. Like,
who are yours?
The literal term world class. Are you an international player? Like, that's literally, and all of our players are international. So technically, they're.
The only thing I'd say world class isn't international because you could be international for one. You know, I'd say though, if you're a player who can get into almost any side in the world, then you're world class.
Play with any 11.
Look, and the only thing I would add on to it is that in terms of, are you consistent as well with that? Because on your day, on his day, Marcus Rashford can be world class, but he's not consistent. It's all
up and down.
This is one of the things, because I'm dead keen to sign Lookman. I
can't even make England now, Rashford.
And I think you were all talking about it earlier, like there's no way that we're getting Lookman in January. Of course not, because if imagine you're
they're doing too good. They're doing too
Yeah,
well.
I mean, like, imagine giving up the chance to be. I mean, Atalanta have never won Serie A. They've never won.
They're doing good in Champions League. They're doing good.
Yeah, so we're not getting them. We're not getting Jonathan David. We're not going to get anyone of significance. All right, listen, I'll be surprised. I'll be pleasantly surprised if we do. I think we do need a striker. I think that's a given now. But
King's idea that Martinelli goes to La Liga and we get Nico Williams, that's interesting.
Yeah, like, did you see that? Like, they
that
were
could work out.
That, I can't see it, but Arteta apparently was jumping up and down going, get me Nico Williams. Exactly what we're talking about now. Nico Williams, you never sign a player in a tournament, do you? Like, you have to remember.
Yeah, you're paying way over the odds, yeah.
You're paying way over the odds. So, yes, watching the Euros, you look Nico Williams, yeah, all day, every day. But he's off form at the moment, and he's coming to a league he's not played in.
His brother's ripping it up in Nike.
Yeah, I think for me it is a bit gutting because look, I'm like, listen, I'm not just always pro Arsenal. I'm really not. I think we need to have a bloody good look at our scouting system because in Arteta's reign we've signed 2 strikers. I mean, in total, right? We've signed 2 strikers, no young strikers anywhere. Chido Obi Martin's gone. We lost somehow. We also have to talk about Mertesacker because the youth team setup, you can talk to me all day long about how LM produces great players. Hasn't been since Per Mertesacker took over. They experimented with bringing in players like the Romanian kid whose name I've suddenly forgotten, but now they've all gone. We lost 21 of those youth team setups, but the one that gets me is a Mario Koscielny because I love Miles Lewis-Skelly, Ethan Nwaneri, but I honestly think with Koscielny there's something there that he's just...
Omari Hutchinson.
Well, Hutchison, that was a money thing, and he'd be the first to. I mean, he's playing all right again in the Premier League now, but he'd be the first to say he made a mistake. But they turned his head with money. But Mario Koscielny, make it make sense. He wouldn't stay at Arsenal because he didn't want to be loaned out. He went to Brighton, and I thought, oh yeah, that's a good move. Still, like you go to Brighton, they develop players, you'll get some game time. They loaned him to Blackburn. We could have done that.
Yeah, like why did you do that with us?
Well, you just go to Blackburn, you come back to Arsenal.
One thing you have to understand that with these young players, if the agent has a very strong relationship with the parents, he's going to have a big say on what happened to that player because they get paid more if the player leaves than if he gets an extension. Yeah. So if you go to parents, let's be honest, a lot of these players come from families that doesn't come from wealth. So a lot of them come from lower income families, don't have any experience when it comes to these kind of deals. Here comes an agent, promised them money that they've never seen before, just to sign a paper.
That's what I did to the Haitian Canadian Pelé, Jonathan David. I offered him the world.
You as a player, you know what? When you were 16 and 17, how much say did you have on your life?
Well, I had a lot. I left home, so I was
in general, big decisions are made by your parents.
All I knew was my next soccer match. When was it?
If your
I take your point, but my Chris, one-off this can happen, right? One-off here and there it can happen, but consistently, Raul Waters didn't sign. Could have done with him last night. So consistently we are not generating. Oh yeah, you can talk about Max Dallman. You watch, right? He's 14 years old. He could be another Charlie Patino, or he could be another Maradona. I don't know, right? But I take your point. Sure. That these boys are getting bad advice, good advice. Who can say right now what the right move for these boys is, right? Serge Gnabry left, and it didn't work out badly for him either. So it's too early to say. But all I'm saying is that what you're seeing in the first team is Saliba's not getting his head turned by Real Madrid. But all our youngsters are. And so something...
Yet we have our fan base saying we're going to lose these guys. Well, they're saying nothing, but they're happy. Non-stop. I mean, they're not leaving.
Dan, but Dan, what we know with how the Arsenal are is, and what with public, they don't think that the academy was good enough in terms of the players that we're bringing through as a group aren't necessarily good enough. And I agree with that as well. I think
I don't. At the moment, the fan base is this: you're either pro Arsenal or against Arsenal. Where I have a real problem is with, you know, all my life grew up, and people, you get the abuse from Chelsea, Spurs, from all kinds, right? And you stick together.
But not our own fans nowadays.
Yeah, it's mostly our own fans that wind me up. I'm sick of hearing about standards. You know, I watched every game. I watched every game.
We all came from the 80s. Dan, the early 80s, we were a mid-table club, and these guys that are our age and older are talking about standards. I'm like, we used to have these shitty standards until George Graham came.
And the ones that have got like pictures of the Invincibles on their back wall going, this is the standards. Like, listen, when we signed Dennis Bergkamp, first 7 games, he got dogs abuse from the press. Oh, he's a flop. Right? 7 games, right?
Yeah.
And then he scores against Southampton, and we never really looked back. People go, that's the standard we want. And you go, yeah. And at Napoli, the standard they want is Maradona. But sometimes you've got to understand that these players aren't like, every club hasn't got one. Every club hasn't got a Cantona. Every club hasn't got a Bergkamp. We're working really hard to get to those levels, but you need a touch of magic in there as well. But what this crap about standards upsets me the most is it's a way of going, well, we can't blame the owners because they're spending plenty of money. You know, you can have a go at the players.
Oh, they hate them. They hate them because they're American.
Oh, man,
there's also the big elephant in the room, and it's Man City. We don't know if they have legally won these titles, and if they haven't,
I don't really go for that, to be honest with you.
We're going to find out.
No, but
it's
like,
not
what I'm saying is
the charges. But look, honestly, have you looked into the charges?
Yes, I have.
A lot of them are.
I've read them.
Which of the charges? What are the things that they're accused of?
It's fraud, essentially. I know, but some of them are
not releasing anything.
One at a time, yes. So I'm glad that you said that, because there are multiple charges. Some charges are ridiculous, like how high did they cut the grass and stuff like that. But they are financial charges that they're accused of.
No, they're all financial charges. How high the grass was cut, that isn't part of this trial. What's part of this trial?
So the problem with the financial charges is that
refusing to show them is a big thing.
It is a bad thing. They're criminal charges, and people could go to prison for that level of fraud. I'm not so naive. I understand what you're going to say is that they're manipulating their funds is in contravention, essentially contravenes profit.
I can't do it as a business. I can't.
But I didn't see the profit and sustainability regulations as a workable part of football. Yes, I think that Man City. It always makes me laugh because they say that Man City are paying Erling Haaland 300,000 a week. No, they're not. They're paying him $1 million, right? And he gets money from the background companies. It's just money. Money doesn't. If Paris Saint-Germain has spent more money, would they have won the Champions League? No. So I'm saying.
No, what I want to say is that if Man City could not buy De Bruyne, if they couldn't buy Sane, if they couldn't buy Aguero, they wouldn't have reached the level of...
No, hang on. But with that player you've mentioned, Kevin De Bruyne, wasn't Kevin De Bruyne when they signed him? He wasn't prohibitively expensive.
58 million for a man's 58 million. It was one of the highest paid for a Premier League player at the time.
Yeah, Man United could have afforded it. Man United could have afforded it.
Yeah, but
you're not listening. You're not listening to my argument. My argument is that if they would have followed the rules and they were not allowed to spend as much money as they did on players,
then they sell guys too and
make their progression grow faster, then they wouldn't have been as successful as they are. It's just facts. Like, if you can't go and spend 50 million on Kyle Walker and then you go and spend 50 million on another right back, and then you go spend 50 million on another
and then write that
on Benjamin Mendy. Like, if you have to go and buy a player from Middlesbrough or a player from Newcastle, you're not reaching the same level. We can see it now. Pep is still the same manager, but they don't have that squad that they used to have, and they're not winning as they used to do.
And no one wants to go there.
Because I'll give you an example. What Cancelo can do on the field is not the same as what Rico Lewis can do. They're not at the same level. what
So I
Laporte
want to
can
agree
do.
with you on your main point. I think it's unarguable, but you have to caveat it by
I'm not
saying
saying that Man City
if
would
they're
never have
guilty,
won anything. What
if
I'm
they're
saying is
found,
that,
if they're found guilty,
yeah,
not of the charge of not. I mean, if they're found guilty just of not having revealed their finances, but on revealing their finances, it's been found that they're all in order. They'll, then that I'm not talking about that level. But you're absolutely right. If they have manipulated their finances in order to gain an advantage in signing players, certainly then a team like Man City would have had no business having players that they signed. I get that. Totally understand that, right? But
Newcastle right now is Saudis. Newcastle can't set up some companies and funnel a bunch of extra money.
Saudis,
Newcastle actually has to sell to build a pie. City got around it by illegal sponsors.
That is not what's happening at Newcastle, by the way, just so everyone knows. I've worked with a Saudi private investment fund, and
I'm saying they're not allowed to do it. They're playing by the rules.
If they wanted to, they could buy players, but they've kind of cooled on it. It's not a direction that they wanted to
about
go.
pulling away, aren't they?
And they probably will. And so the poor Geordies, and I have a lot of affection for Geordies unless we're playing them, but they have kind of, their hopes have been raised. Oh, we're getting oil money. And now it's like, no, you're not getting oil money. But I absolutely understand the allegation that they've cooked the books and that they've been able to leapfrog other teams and gone above where they should be. But the reality was, this happened at Chelsea. This wasn't a Man City thing.
Yeah.
When Roman Abramovich nearly bought Tottenham, God help us. Imagine what would have happened. Because even he couldn't.
And they were buying agents. Chelsea were buying agents.
Chelsea were buying everyone. They just went, how much for Ashley Cole? Oh, he's not for sale. Yes, he is.
Oh, we'll buy the agent off.
And it never stopped it. And, now there's a generation of young Chelsea fans who've got no idea what scumbag club they joined. Man City, same. I hate to be that guy, but when I speak to City people online and they're like, I say, well, how long have you been supporting the team? They go, since 2016. You go, shut up then. You know what? Like, you don't know. But Man City, I have no problem with them coming into a capitalistic society like the football world and spending the money. But the people who got their noses out of joint were all the clubs who Manchester United's commercial value was so good. This is why we moved to the Emirates, because we couldn't compete with their match day revenue, couldn't be competing with their commercials. We were left behind. Everyone was getting left behind. But ultimately, when you look at it, I go back to the George Graham era. We were not a money club then. We didn't spend money. So what he did is he went out and bought Lee Dixon, Steve Bold, Tony Adams, David Seaman, all for about the same amount that they ended up spending on Ian Wright. And we still built the foundations of the best back five ever. Money isn't everything. It's a huge advantage. I dislike the 115 charges against Man City because it's a new idea relative in football terms. And I find a lot of fans are just hoping that's what undoes them. As to the fact that City aren't as good as they were, you see this with Klopp's teams as well. You have any idea what it's like, how hard it must be to play for Pep Guardiola? The man's a nutter. He doesn't do anything but eat, sleep, drink, football.
He's harming himself with losing.
I think he's losing his mind a little bit, and I'm enjoying it from the sidelines. I'm loving the meltdowns. I'm loving the who the hell did that to him as well? Because I cut myself with my thumb.
You know what my only problem is with that is that if we have all agreed that we are going to follow these rules and we've signed up on them,
and then they don't, and their lawyers get them off. They were proven illegal in UEFA court.
You can't then break the rules and then complain about the rules. No, you complain and make your argument before and then adjust the rules. And then you do it
by the rules.
I think you're right. But I mean, that's the world, isn't it? I mean, like very rich people come and
lawyers get people off.
Seek forgiveness and beg permission. That's the way business is. You look at name a $1 billion company that doesn't break the rules and pay fines. It's just how it is. So the fact that, but what I'm saying is
Google's doing it right now.
It's not like they're bribing officials or things like that. They're not going to, we're not going to celebrate if it turns out Man City gets stripped of their title last season. We know they did it on the pitch. Where I think that we can all learn from Pep, and it does wear off, and obviously I think what was really surprising, I'll be the first to admit I was surprised, when Pep announced he was signing his new contract, you expected there to be a bounce. You expected those players to be like, oh, thank goodness.
The damage is done.
What years? And what happened? they're all like, "Oh fuck, another 2 years of this."
Their only
guy.
signings were Gundogan and Sevilla, who was owned by a parent.
But
Like
if you listen,
Savinho is part of the Man City group, yeah.
if you
But I
listen
said
to
this
Pep,
2 years ago. I got
people don't want to go there
saying
anymore.
all these players are losing. Mahrez are losing Gundogan. They can't be the same team, and he kept them going that one extra season because of that 4 in a row. 5 in a row is not the draw.
yeah, what I was
So
gonna
that's
say,
why he signed a new deal to try to stop this. That everything's going to change, So they're trying to build a recruit still.
what I was gonna say is that if you listen to Pep throughout his career, one thing that he's always been consistent with is that I have to have the players.
Yeah, everywhere he's gone.
He's always said that I have to have the players. This is the first season where we see Pep with mediocre, normal players. And it's not pepping because
One win,
the
two draws,
players that he has to use are not at the level of the football that he wants them to play. And this is why he didn't want to play Calvin Phillips. This is why Dixie had to go, because he got in Mateus Nunes, Kovacic, and these players, and they are not at the level that Pep needs them to be. And this is why we are not seeing City playing at the level that they need to. The reason why City won last year and the year before is because Haaland was breaking every goal-scoring record that we have ever seen. Rodri is an all-timer. And Kevin De Bruyne is an all-timer. If he didn't have these 3 players,
Guardiola 100 mil,
Man City were not winning, because the best City team was the one that got 100 points when they had David Silva, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden as options in midfield, and wingers. They had Sterling, Prime Sane, Prime Jesus, Prime Aguero, Prime Walker. Like
TDP.
That team, that squad could do everything. They just didn't have the experience to win the Champions League. But I haven't seen a better team. And this is Pep. He tells you that all the time. It's the players, it's the players, it's the players.
No, because you know what I thought when you said that, first of all? I'm a Bayern fan as well, right?
Yeah.
So I remember Joshua Kimmich coming in, and like there's only one man in the world that saw the future for Joshua Kimmich. And like he really did not look like a player that was going to be as good as he turned out to be. And Pep, and if you read Pep's biography, I can't remember which one, but there's like 3 really good Pep biographies, and one of them it talks about the beasting that Pep would give Kimmich. There's even the video clip of him after, I think it was a Wolfsburg game.
Yeah, you're way harder on the players you think are amazing. You're way harder on them.
He's shouting at
where they can go,
and he's shouting at him, and everyone assumed he was giving him he was toughing him out. And actually, what he was saying is, you could be world class.
Yeah.
You could be what. And Kimmich is someone I'm always surprised that more Arsenal fans don't want him at the club. He's up again. He's in conversation.
Right back or center mid.
Well, for me, like he's a centre mid. I play him as defensive. Yes, he can play right back, but he wants to play defensive mid. It's only Thomas Tuchel that thought he couldn't. He's playing centre mid. He's playing DM right now for Germany. He played DM for during the sextuple season. Like, come on, But in any case, you're right, because Pep needs certain players. But I think what's been fascinating for me is, like I said, I called it at the beginning of last season. I said they won't win the league because they lost too many players. Bernardo Silva doesn't want to be there. Kyle Walker's getting too old. He got an extra year out of someone. It's like if you've got spray cream and you think you're done and you just get one more and you've got enough for one more hot chocolate in there. This is what it was with City. They're spent. They're done. Like, and who can blame them? No one's ever gone 4 in a row. And now they're falling apart. I think, I don't think they're going to totally fall apart. There's a lot of everyone's jumping up and down on, they might not finish in the top 4. That's a great question for Jose as well. Has he lost the dressing room? I don't know if he's lost the dressing room, But someone's definitely lost some fingernails in the dressing room, because when he came out scratched up like that, I was like, what the heck?
He's trying to fight Liverpool fans.
Who did it? Because then someone said to me it was Edison. I was like, no, man, he would have looked a lot worse if Edison, because it ain't Haaland, because he'd have bite marks. But the thing is, right? He's
I
lost
think he scratched himself. I think he was so angry. I think
he did it during the game.
Yeah, no, he said he did it to himself.
I know, but that's fine. But let me ask each of you, right? You're a professional at the top of your game. You're used to this man coming in and motivating that extra ounce out of you. And you're in the dressing room after a game and he starts massively cutting himself with his fingers. Are you still loving him? You're going like, boss,
this guy's a freak.
You need to take a couple of weeks off, mate. You just need to go for a break, have a jog around. But I think what's fascinating is what
he
has
needs to
happened.
go to.
So the inside
scoop.
We'll have to wait for a biography to come out, but here's what I'm saying happened, right?
Yeah.
Pep oversaw the transition to his successor, Ruben Amorim. He kept everything. He got all the players he needed. They weren't active in the transfer market like they should have been, because no one wants to go out and spend a couple $100 million, even if they're trillionaires. They don't.
No, but what players want to come to a club that might be in financial penalties? And the manager that you want to play for might be leaving. So that's why he signed a new deal.
So when he signed a new deal, it's too little too late, because they needed to do this last summer.
It already happened.
And they didn't.
I also think, I think Pep is so annoyed with the charges, because
he's trying to protect his legacy by staying now.
Like,
I know, but that's
they have done something.
Like, nothing ever.
Imagine you're winning 4 Premier League titles in a row, and the year after it comes out that you cheated. Like,
I think they all cheated. I think Chelsea cheated. Chelsea self-admitted. Why aren't we all talking
about
but Chelsea paid agents? She wrote it in the book. You're paying agents off.
I know.
They get our players.
And then you've got the
Chelsea's case is coming next. You know that Chelsea are next.
Well, no, they've admitted it. They're not even denying it. This isn't being profile fast tracked. What's fascinating to me is that people are missing something, right? Ted Boehly and Ed Barley, the Cronkies, all of these hugely successful money enterprises, even the Glazers, but they're a separate entity for me. They are not selling their clubs, and here's why. 2026, United States, World Cup, money is coming into football.
2025 World Club Cup in the United States.
Yeah, I think that's a desperate ploy by FIFA to try and get some of the attention.
Oh, they're offering huge money too.
Of course, they have to speculate to accumulate. But I'm talking next level. So the World Cup will see rule changes. It will see fundamental changes in football that hopefully will appeal to a growing North American market. And here's a dual factor. On the one hand, you've got amounts of money coming into football that's never been seen before. And on the other hand, you have the potential that the entire infrastructure of the transfer system, certainly in Europe, is illegal, right? That you cannot, according to the Treaty of Rome in 1956, you cannot just treat footballers like they're different. You can't say someone bought you, therefore you have to play for them. The Lassana Diarra case has demonstrated that he could quit his club and no one owes compensation. That's 12 million up the Swanee, right? We just bought Declan Rice for 105 million. What if in 4 weeks' time he goes, look, guys, I'm just not feeling it. I'm leaving. Here's my 4 weeks' notice. The reason there's not big money in the transfer market at the moment is because nobody's sure where this is going. So this might be a dead January.
We need some set rules,
You can't have set rules that apply only to footballers. This is a problem, right? So if you imagine this for a second, like I know this is out there, but let's say you're Todd Boehly. You have a feeling this is coming. If you took transfers and made them illegal and players could just move around for big salaries, what happens to the money?
Allow trades like the other professional league.
Yeah, but what happens to the money that used to get spent? The 1.2 billion that Chelsea have just spent. Where would that money in the future go? It goes directly into the hands of the people who own the clubs. So Money in football is fundamentally going to change everything. And what we're seeing now as a result is a temporal period where there will be no big signings. There will not, nobody, unless it's Man United, because I put nothing past them for stupidity. Like I wouldn't put it past them to go and spend £1 billion in the transfer window and the next week find out that it was all for nothing. But when you're looking at the future, our model... David. Who's that?
Jonathan David again.
No, really.
Yeah.
The French say David.
Yeah, no, I want him so badly. I just love his. I think he'd fit. Out of all the players that I've seen, he's the one I want most.
See, Tariq, get on board, buddy.
Make it happen.
4 years, I'm telling you.
Yeah, but I
gotta go, boys. I gotta go. I got an appointment. I gotta go. I love getting you on, Dan. You're always welcome. The Gooner, Tariq, you know you're always invited. Any watch along, any show we're doing. King's idea. Thanks a lot, King.
Thank you.
Make sure you're subscribing to the Gooner, the Tariq Talks.
I'm live in 7 minutes. Show. I'm gonna have to run as well. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been an absolute blast. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dan.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Tariq Talks, King's Football Show. We'll be back. We'll be doing our watch-alongs this week's Match Day Live, Goal Rush, Arsenal game, Liverpool game, 4 games on. We'll be doing it. Everyone's always welcome.
Perfect. Come on, Arsenal.
I get even more with the Fire Stick now, Tariq. Scottish League, everything.
Hey.
Thanks, guys. Great idea, King. We'll probably have another one come Christmas, New Year, little January window and how we're doing then. Hopefully Tariq's right. We've closed that window to Liverpool. We've closed that gap up a little bit.
Put pressure.
And top 8 Champions League. Can't wait for the new year. FA Cup, we get to take out Man United.
Even that, I'm not happy. Well, I want an easier draw. I wanted something easy. So we
never get an easy one at FA Cup, it seems like.
I know.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're out of here. Thanks a lot to everybody that participated as well, voted on the poll. We have on the poll that ended off, what did we have? Final percentages. 36% say Champions League, 36% say Carabao, 18% Premier League. So, yeah, I think Champions League, Carabao, FA Cup, that might be our best bets. I don't know.
Perfect.
Anyways, we're out of here. Thanks, Tariq. Thanks, King.
Take care, guys. Appreciate you, man. Moss, King. Take care, everyone in the chat.
Take care, Gooners out there. Stay warm.
Okay, everyone. See you.
See you, man. Peace.
Good stream. Peace
Great
up.
stream.